So there I was.
Which is how all great aviation stories start. Hey, welcome everybody. This is Fig. I'm in Kearney, Missouri, and my co-horse repeat is where?
I'm home tonight, Lee, New Hampshire. So
All
yeah,
right.
welcome everybody to the show. We're thrilled to have a special guest tonight. I may say to you, sir, you have the right to remain silent, but I hope you choose not to. None other than Lawman. Lawman, welcome to our show. We are thrilled to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be
Oh
here.
man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Fig.
So we've got to
I'm
start
excited
with
to
the
hear these
question.
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got to start with
go.
the question that we ask everybody. But I know you've got a million stories. This could go long. In which case we'll break it up, and we'll certainly respect your time. So if you need to go, if you need to take a break or anything, say so. We'll make that happen, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
So the first question we ask everybody is, how is it that you came to fly airplanes? How did you become interested in aviation?
Well, certainly, my dad. I was born and raised in the Army, so my dad was an Army Green Beret. 82nd Airborne. Was born in Fort Bragg, not too far from here in New Bern, North Carolina. So raised an Army brat, grew up around the world, went to 16 different schools, first grade through high school. He was a Green Beret, 3 tours in Nam, highly decorated. So nothing to do with aviation, except maybe jumping out of airplanes. But he retired out of Fort Huachuca, Arizona, my sophomore year in high school. We moved to Phoenix, Chandler. And if you recall from back in the day, Chandler Air Force Base, Williams Air Force Base in Chandler was a undergraduate pilot training base for the Air Force. So T-37s, tweets, T-38s, and even F-5s there for a while because they were training foreign pilots in the F-5, including Iranians back in the 70s.
Yep.
So I'm in Chandler and I'm seeing these F-5s, T-38s, T-37s, flying overhead, make a lot of noise, look cool as heck. And we go to the base to shop, commissary and exchange. Nearest to military base was Williams Air Force Base. I'm seeing these cool looking Air Force pilots in flight suits and fast cars and sometimes good looking women hanging out with them going, those guys look pretty damn cool. That looks pretty neat. So I really got interested, inspired to fly. Thank you. U.S. Air Force undergraduate pilot training sparked my interest in flying airplanes, watching those guys. But I thought it was kind of out of reach. I go ahead, that's something I can't. That's something unattainable. But
that's something other people do. I get that,
Right.
Yeah,
I thought
so
that early on too. As I started
the
looking.
same
yeah.
way.
So I went to college and I talked to an Air Force recruiter, and at that time he told me, "We're looking for engineers. Are you studying engineering?" I go, "No, I'm studying criminal justice." And he pretty much laughed at me almost, and no thanks. But one day I'm in front of the college dormitory, and all the services come to colleges to recruit, which they do to high schools. And a gunnery sergeant, just one gunnery sergeant with a folding card table, sat up in front of the college dormitory early one morning after I just run cross country mornings practice. And he stood there with some pamphlets and just dared us to come talk to him. Didn't call us over, just ignored us.
Nice.
So I'm standing in line with all these other college kids, and I felt kind of sorry for the guy. So I walked over and, my dad's retired Army first sergeant. Started talking to his gunnery sergeant, Zuccarelli, Gunny Z. He worked for the OSO out of Phoenix. And starts talking to me about, well, you probably don't have what it takes to be a Marine anyway, so he kind of throws down the gauntlet. And, Marine Corps is not for everybody, hardcore. You got to really be strong physically, mentally, and all that. And he said, but are you interested in flying? I go, yeah, actually, I am interested in flying. I had no idea that the Marine Corps even had airplanes. I didn't know that as an Army brat. He showed me all these color brochures of jets. This is back in 78, 79. So Phantoms, A4s, A6s, the Bronco, and of course helicopters, Cobras, and all that stuff. And I agreed to meet him after breakfast and take the test, flight aptitude test. Apparently I passed that somehow, some miracle, and went through the whole application process and ended up getting the contract, standard platoon leader course air contract. So my freshman year in college, the Marine Corps gives me a contract, says, hey, you get through college, you go to officer candidate school, you go to the basic school, we will send you to flight school. Pretty good deal, right?
Good deal. Good.
That's why I signed up, just some gunnery sergeant standing in front of a card table.
Beautiful.
There I was.
That's awesome. That's I've ventured to guess there's a lot of Marine pilots walking around today with very similar circumstances.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You
mentioned something in passing though, real quickly. To go down this rabbit hole a little bit before we circle back. You were majoring in criminal justice, which led you to another interesting job for a little while before you wound up in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Arizona Highway Patrol. So that kind of came out as a roundabout way too. I'm a freshman in college. Got through my freshman year running cross country track. Got injured, had a knee injury. So I was, I'm a poor college student on a partial scholarship, painting houses, walking coaches' dogs, and work study, selling basketball tickets at the college basketball games, and struggling financially a little bit. My sophomore year comes around, and the Arizona Highway Patrol came recruiting, just like the military. And one of my college professors said, "Hey, this would be a great experience if you would go listen to what they had to say and go take their written examination. It's a great civil service exam, and do the interview if you qualify and get through that whole interview process. Great experience, no desire for the job at the time." So I went and took the written test in Casa Grande, Arizona. And I passed like 80%. You pass, they give you a slot. Come back this afternoon at 2:30 for an interview. And it was a 6v1 interview with all these police officers, highway patrolmen. And everybody else in the waiting room area in the hallway, they wanted to be a state trooper. These are ex-military guys or current police officers or 30-some-year-old dudes. I'm a 19-year-old, I think, college student. Didn't want the job, just wanted the experience. So I had no pressure, if you will. I go in the interview and I get grilled about different stuff and scenarios. And later that evening, I'm back in my dormitory and I get a knock on the door, and the major who ran the board says, "Hey, if everything you told us today is true, you're not bullshitting us, we're going to do a background check, you will probably be a state trooper. Probably going to hire you." So I ended up going through he taught me into going through the whole process. Background check, polygraph examination, had to go run a physical fitness test, which, of course, I'd already been through PLC Junior. So if you can run a Marine Corps roll course, you can run the Arizona Highway Patrol roll course.
There you go.
And so I went through the polygraph. The biggest problem for me was the polygraph. They were convinced that everybody in Arizona had gone to high school, especially near the border towns like I did in Sierra Vista, had smoked marijuana at some point.
Sure.
And they did not believe I had not smoked marijuana. And I never had. So I kept
How is
coming
that
back
possible?
yeah, come on. And he kept, I'm going to start the machine right now. No bullshit. I know you've at least taken one toke of a marijuana cigarette. Come on, man. I said, no. So he kept coming back to the marijuana. And what almost tripped me up really was at one point he said, "Hey, have you ever stolen anything of value?" I said, well, like these are not candy bars as a kid. As an adult, have you stolen anything? He said, "Yes, actually I have." He goes, "What?" I'm wired to a polygraph machine. I said, books, college books. He goes, "College books?" "Yeah, from the college bookstore." I said, "What kind of books?" I said, "Criminal justice books." He goes, "What?" Because I said, "These books are really expensive. I couldn't afford them." So I would go to the college bookstore and I was stealing these $60, $70 college books for college classes. So but because I was honest enough to admit that, I got hired. So I went through the whole process, and on Christmas break in my sophomore year, the Highway Patrol called me and offered me a job. And being a broke college student, I was in my mom's kitchen and said, "Hey, what are they paying?" They said like $19,000 to start as a cadet. My mom said, "Take it." So I quit school. Yeah, joined the Arizona Highway Patrol. Had to wait. So I was a gopher, a trainee, until I was old enough to go to the academy, because you had to be 21 years of age to be a sworn police officer.
Okay.
So they timed it so that I was 21 by the time I graduated at the academy. And then I got sent down to Casa Grande, Arizona, Pinal County, FTO, which is kind of like a field training officer, kind of like being on probation, like OE with the airlines.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you're on 1 year probation, but you're on your own. Arizona Highway Patrol, they give you a patrol car, a shotgun, a pistol, first aid kit, and they cut you loose after your training. They go, "Hey, go out there and enforce the laws of the state of Arizona."
21 years old
out there too, man.
21 years old, license is still, drive like a maniac, do my best James Bond, I had a
Gun
blast.
and a badge. What was the unit you were driving? What would they?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, my first car, it's a great question, Fig. So my first car, you don't get, if you're a rookie, you don't get a nice car,
Right.
So I show up to Casa Grande, Arizona, my Sergeant Bob Aguilar, big guy, says, "Oh, here's your car." And it was a piece of shit 1977 Dodge Monaco. Now it was cool because it was all jacked up and it looked fast as hell, right? It might have done 130 maybe, but it had a really bad cooling system. So it got overheated, it tended to overheat. So I get my first car and I'm looking at it, walking around, and I go, "Hey, where's my cage?" The cage you expect, right?
Right.
You know what he told me? He says, "Only pussies need cages. Real men don't need cages." Handcuff, you cuff your prisoner behind the back, and you seatbelt him in right next to you in the right front passenger seat. If he's really a badass, if you're right-handed, take your service revolver out. We carried revolvers back then.
Yeah.
And stick it underneath your leg and sit on it so he can't grab your gun. So no cage, riding around with sometimes real badasses and right next to you, handcuffed next to you, picking them up and go to jail. So that was, so I did that for the rest of my college. I went back to school at Arizona State, re-enrolled, got back in the PLC program, thankfully, because thankfully I was the Commandant's Trophy recipient in my PLC juniors.
Show's over. We got another one, Fig.
No. Anyway, no.
There's two of you guys now we've interviewed that have been the Commandant Trophy winners. For crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, if you can run, if you can PT, day one. And my dad was a Green Beret. I was raised by a combat veteran Green Beret. So I was, yes, sir, no, sir, 2 bags full, sir. They like that. So it was pretty, OCS is fairly easy. Mostly, that's awesome. My hardest part of OCS is keep from laughing at what was going on around me. But so I did the highway patrol, and then got back in PLC program, and Marine Corps gave me a 1-year graduation date extension. Say, okay, you got your contract still, just get that college degree. And the highway patrol gave me a military leave of absence. So when I left the highway patrol, turned all my guns and car back in the summer of '83, went and I immediately drove to Quantico, Virginia. And I had a badge as a state trooper almost my entire Marine Corps career. So I got out of jail for free a lot.
That's awesome.
Speeding. It's a beautiful thing. So one other quick question, and I'm trying to dig back in my memory, but I'm pretty sure this was you. Did you film a Harrier commercial with the Arizona State Patrol about?
No, that wasn't me actually, but that was it was Yuma guys. They tried to get me, but I was forward deployed. I think I was in Westpac or something. So they used who was it? They used so they actually filmed a Harrier doing a rolling vertical landing
to pull a car over,
pulling a car over, and then then they had the pilot in his flight gear pretend to write a ticket to a civilian in a Mustang or something. It was pretty cool.
That was the Arizona Highway Patrol commercial.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. Yeah.
Road patrol by air, that sort of thing. Do you have a copy of that video by chance?
I probably have that somewhere. I think I can find it. I know I have photos of it at least.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the guy that. If I get back to you later on about who the pilot was, you can talk to him about that. Maybe find him.
Okay. Yeah.
So hey, you did two OCSs, right?
I did PLC juniors and seniors. Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any good? Do you have any fond memories of any of your drilling instructors at?
I think I tried to lay low, but I think the biggest one was I think PLC juniors. We had a candidate who made a mistake of lighting up a cigarette when the smoking lamp was not lit.
Oh boy.
And they went, this is 1979 when they could still do a lot of incentive PT and things that they probably can't do now.
Oh yeah.
And I remember they got us all in a big in a school circle, and they had this candidate, and they threw him into a wall locker with every pack of cigarettes they could find. They'd confiscated from cans when they showed up. So this guy must have had, I'm going to say maybe 6 or 8 packs of cigarettes and a couple big lighters. And they throw them in the wall locker, lock them in there, and they told them, you either smoke all those cigarettes, you eat them all. You're not coming out of that damn wall locker to eat, all the cigarettes are gone. Then they're beating on the wall locker with, brooms and mops, yelling at them. Smoke's starting to come out of the vents. This guy's trying to smoke all these cigarettes. And then he got sick, and he was in there for a long time. He was throwing up.
Oh, no.
It was pretty bad. And so nobody ever smoked a cigarette after that, though, I tell you,
I don't know why you would.
Yeah, the drill instructors were pretty... a lot of and when I went back as a major at OCS as a company commander years later.
Yeah, I heard this. Was this after
the Blues?
The Blues. So were you going to a school then?
I was going to Marine Corps Command and Staff College, so I had a gap, and so I wanted to go do something in Quantico, and I ended up at OCS, which is fun, pushing candidates through as a major now. So I got platoon commanders, Marine captains, and the drill instructors worked for me. And they had very strict, this is now 1995, right? 96 now.
Yeah.
And so very strict rules. Mothers of America and congressmen had forced the Marine Corps to change how they handled recruits and candidates in a much more gentler and kinder way.
Sure.
So one of the rules was no more incentive PT. You can only drop a candidate for 20 push-ups for a rifle violation, mishandling a weapon. That was it. Outside of scheduled PT, The only other alternative they had to punish candidates was a 500-word essay. And they said, and they would fire you on the spot, anybody who was involved in any kind of mishandling of candidates. So I got my first essay from a candidate who actually had run by me and failed to recognize me as Major Hancock, so of course he got jumped on and he was assigned a 500-word essay. And I got this essay a few days later, and it was a work of art. So the drill instructors took this 500-word essay and they translated it into only going to count words that are 6 letters or greater as 500 words.
Okay.
And you had to underline, handwritten had to underline each 6-letter word and then number it. This candidate, so candidate would be underline number 1.
Yeah.
And they had to finish on a 6-letter word or greater with 500 6-letter words or greater. It was like this masterpiece of, oh my God, these drill instructors, they know how to,
oh yeah,
how to twist
just
it,
a side
make
note,
it as painful as possible. Yeah.
I had 13 300-word essays assigned to me while I was at OCS.
What?
13 300 words. Didn't have to number them, just had to be 300 words, no more, no less.
But you're in your rack at night, probably doing it at night with a flashlight, probably.
Yes,
right? Because you had no other time to do it.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So drill instructors, it's the art and science of being a drill instructor, and I had to keep the same thing there as a major. Just try to keep them laughing,
Right?
Because when you're watching it, it's funnier than shit.
Oh yeah,
right.
When you're not on the receiving end.
Exactly.
As long as you're not on the receiving end, you can see the humor in it. Those guys are masters.
So Curly was our other honor grad, and he actually told me offline at one point he never got a chit. So the last day of OCS, he got called in and got a chit for not getting the chit.
What? Well, I got called in right away at PLC juniors because they thought I had an attitude, even though I was a 350th year and was walking the line and yes or no, sir. They thought I was smirking a lot, like smiling, like what's wrong with you, Candidate Hancock? So I got called into the platoon commander's office.
It's just the way it looks, sir.
Yeah. Drill instructors yelling at me. They thought I had an attitude problem. And so I asked if I could speak freely. And they said, go ahead, candidate. So I told them about First Sergeant Ben W. Hancock, my dad, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Hearts, Vietnam, Green Beret, about when we were little boys, my brothers and I. If you cried for any reason as a boy, you got treated like a girl. You're going to act like a girl, you're going to dress like a girl. He'd put my sister's dress on us, a baby bonnet, and gave us a baby bottle and put you in the front yard, make you stand in the front yard of your house for 2 hours in front of all your friends, people walking on the street, like, what's this friggin' kid, boy stand? This is 1960s. This is,
right.
It wasn't cool to dress like a girl when you're, a young boy. No, and so I said, unless you're going to put me to the Marines, unless you're going to put me in a dress in Georgetown on Liberty Weekend, nothing you do is going to come near to the way I was raised. So I know you guys are doing your job. I respect that. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing kind of with you, if you will. And they said, Candidate Hancock, you're dismissed. And they threw me out of there.
Nice.
So.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff.
That's beautiful.
All right. So the basic school, let's see.
Yeah. Basic school. Yeah.
Well, so when you went to seniors, then you had to finish school. So you had finished school, you got commissioned, then you went to the basic school.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. I went back to school, Arizona State, full time, got my degree in May of '83, got commissioned the same day with the Army, Air Force folks. I don't think there was Navy there, just a few Marines, Air Force ROTC, Navy, Army ROTC. Spent the rest of the summer working highway patrol until I was ready to go to Quantico for Gulf Company 83. And I drove my Mustang across the country and went to TVS, which I really kind of enjoyed for the most part. Running around the woods, playing, shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Of course, anybody who remember the acronym FIGMAC?
Yeah.
Fuck it,
yeah.
I got my air contract.
That's right.
Yeah, so about half my company had an air contract. It was a really big percentage. And so we'd run around, and I actually enjoyed it for the most part, offensive, defensive, combat, all the stuff you do at TBS. But most guys, of course, you don't want to get your rifle dirty, especially before a Saturday inspection.
Right.
And so the guys would pretend to shoot, Buddha, 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 Buddha. And they would take all their,
like guns
ammo.
With flares and chaff in the Harrier, right?
Yeah, chaff, flare.
Buddha, Buddha,
that
Buddha.
works, right? Yeah, Buddha, 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 Buddha. Running around the woods in Quantico, pretending you're shooting people. And then dropping all of their actual rounds, blanks, because blanks are really dirty. When you shoot a blank round through a rifle, it's really foul.
It's horrible.
And guys are burying their rounds in dirt and mud and stuff, and would maybe shoot one round and then do the Buddha, Buddha, Buddha with the rest of it, so they could not to get the rifle dirty. So I went through TBS for the most part, enjoyed it. And while I was there, the Mat 6 CO came. I know we don't say names here, but it's called him Bull. So
Okay.
he's a full bird colonel, helicopter, Vietnam veteran, big guy. And he brings a T-34 into Quantico with a student pilot. And we got all the aviators get called to O'Bannon Hall, whatever it was, the auditorium.
Yeah.
And we think we're going to get a motivational speech about, hey, you guys are so close to graduating TBS and joining us down here in the promised land, Pensacola, Florida. We're all pumped up, and the colonel gets on the stage, and it was all negative. It was really negative about how poorly Marine students were doing in Pensacola academically, guys getting in trouble out in town and, drunk and stupid, and I'll have your ass, and you better come prepared, and you better said. And so he had all these boxes of books shipped to the basic school for these self-paced books about trigonometry, algebra 1, 2, and 3, geometry. Yeah, all these mathematical. I'm a criminal justice major. I barely got through math for athletes. Consumer math was hard. Which costs more, the 32-ounce can of pork and beans for this price, or the 60 ounce can of pork and beans? So I'm like, shit. So I took all those books, went through all the books, and then took one of my buddy's books and went through he was a Naval Academy grad, aeronautical engineer. He wasn't going to do those damn self-paced books. I did his books, and I still felt, man, I'm not going to make it. I can do this infantry stuff. I like this stuff. Flight school was the great unknown, right?
Sure.
I'm going to go in there and fail out. So I went to see my company commander, Major, let's call him Steve, infantry officer.
All right.
And I asked permission to speak to the major. And I thought he was going to give me a bear hug when I tell him I want to convert to infantry, drop my air contract. I finished number 2 at TBS. So I'd done well enough. I thought, okay, he'll want me to be one of his guys.
Number 2.
Slacker.
Yeah, I missed out. Yeah. I didn't get number 1. I was a slacker.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, I
was
come
two
in his
from the bottom,
office and
I
I say,
think,
hey,
yeah.
sir, I'd like to drop my air contract and go to infantry officer course. He goes, are you a fucking idiot? You want to do what? So instead of the bear hug and, hey, we converted the guy,
Yeah.
he's chewing my ass. Like, what? I'm standing there in position of attention now. He goes, Lieutenant Hancock, you're an idiot. He goes, let me tell you something. If you tell anybody else this, you will not graduate next week from TBS. Says, I went to flight school to Pensacola with an air contract years ago, and I pissed it away chasing girls and drinking too much beer in Seville Quarter.
Right.
And didn't study hard enough, and I washed out. And I came back and became a successful Marine Corps infantry officer. He goes, but I'm beat to hell. My body, my knees, my back. He goes, do yourself a favor, son. Go to Pensacola. Try flight school. If you don't like it, you don't do well, you get air sick or something, I guarantee we'll bring you back and put you in ILC, infantry officer course. So I got saved by an infantry officer who convinced me to give flight school a shot.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
That's
You'll go
awesome.
figure, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He did you a big favor.
Yeah, but then I got to flight school. Of course, you do academics first, right? And water survival.
Engineering, water survival.
Yeah. So I go to
aerodynamics.
academics, and the first day of school was some engineering course with some Navy ECMO geek, NFO type guy, A6 guy up there in khakis. And there's like 70 students in the classroom, a few Marines, mostly Navy, and a few Coast Guard guys, and of all walks of life in schools. And I was number 7 in the first row. And he said, okay, I want everybody to stand up, state your name, where'd you go to school, and what'd you study? So the first 6 guys, Naval Academy, aeronautical engineering, or Purdue University, mechanical engineering. Like, oh my God, all 6 guys in front of me had all went to really nice, prestigious schools.
Sure.
And had studied engineering of some type. I go, oh my God, it's a setup. So I stood up, Second Lieutenant Ben Hancock, Arizona State University, criminal justice. And they laughed at me. I go, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. But you know how it is. Determination, hard work, just regurgitate whatever the Navy tells you is, and spit it back on the test and go fly airplanes. You make it work.
Nice.
Well, it worked, right?
Yeah.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah. But I was still doubtful. I got jets. Thankfully, I got lucky. Went to Kingsville, Texas, which I really thought was man. I got to admit, I'm a geek, but my first solo in a T-34, the poem High Flight by Gillespie?
Yes.
He was written in World War II, I believe by a Canadian Air Force pilot who penned it, I think, in a poem to his mom. I think the story goes. It's a great poem, right?
Yes.
The Air Force, in the military, you grow up, you go to an Air Force base or a theater and you screen parts. And the first thing you do is stand at attention for the national anthem. And then the Air Force always played High Flight. So I thought that was a great poem. So I memorized that poem and I knew that poem. And the first time I sold a Navy T-34, I recited, it sounds geeky, but I recited, I'm getting paid to fly this really fantastic aerobatic turboprop. And I couldn't help but recite the poem High Flight in honor of that guy. Anyway, so I get to Kingsville, T2 Buckeyes,
Right.
VT-23. My timing was perfect. There was no students. They had more jets and IPs than they had students.
Wow.
It was
That's
crazy.
unheard of.
Almost. Yeah, it was
Everybody
nuts.
gets fooled.
So it was me and one Navy ensign started T2 Buckeyes, intermediate jets together.
Class
I
of
won't-
2. That's unheard of.
Two of us.
Yeah.
And of course, guess who he is? Naval Academy grad.
Of course.
He goes, you got to be kidding me, man. So I go, I'm going to get blown out of the water by this guy. And he was a very smart guy. He was a brainiac. I call him Tony. Let's call him Tony. So Tony and I start ground school together, and he's just acing this stuff, blowing through it. But one of those guys that was really smart, but just couldn't put the eye-hand coordination together in the airplane. You know what I mean? Did well in T-34s with jets. Things happen faster. He just struggled. So every phase, he got it down. And I was moving ahead. So I actually left him behind. And then they tried at him about midway through jets and sent him either P3s or something. So when I got my wings later, I went temporary also duty back to Arizona State, NAU, U of A,
Yeah.
So help
Embry-Riddle
recruiting
and
other
Prescott. Yeah,
officers into
Yeah.
the program you came into.
yeah, great. And they also, hey, bring your flight gear and flight suits, and try to get some guys that want to fly airplanes in the Marine Corps. So I'm at Arizona State one day with the table set up. I had all my flight gear and helmet and G suit and all this stuff, and had a big crowd gathered around. The also standing behind me. He's an arty guy, and he's fired up because I got all these guys interested in aviation. And so this one guy goes, "Hey, how hard was flight school?" I said, "It was challenging, but work hard, you make through it." He said, "What was the attrition rate?" I said, 50% in my class. He goes, what? Yeah, 50% of my, I couldn't help it,
Yeah.
throw that out there. He goes, well, how did you do? I said, I was number one. So then I told him, I go, there's only two of us. And the other guy didn't make it.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
but my timing was good because I got through pretty quick and got my wings and jets and got lucky and then went Harriers. So,
Nice.
Was that your first choice?
it was. And, I'll tell you, I'm not going to say I love the Harrier. I got 2,000 hours of mishap free flight time in it, my time. But, I got lucky to mix it up with other airplanes too. But, if I could go back, you never can go back. But if I could do it, I think I would have. Dream would have been F4 Phantoms, Hawaii, F-18 transition. I've always thought the Phantom was a really iconic jet.
yeah.
So they were giving up the very last F4 Phantom orders, and I passed up Phantoms and Hornets. The Marine Corps was smart enough. They flew two brand new AVABs into Kingsville, Texas. And these guys did a V-stall show, landed, and we didn't get. I never saw an F-18 there during my time. So they brought these Harriers in, brand new, smelled like a new car.
Yep.
Showed us the cockpit, like glass cockpit. I thought this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, compared to the TA-4J
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
technology. And so I said, hey, and these guys convinced you want to be a Marine pilot and you want to support Marines on the ground, the Harrier is the way to go. So I signed up. I said, I want Harriers. I'd done well enough. I think I could have selected what I wanted out of there. So I went to 203. Here I come.
Yeah. 203, the Harrier.
And then the truth is, I got to admit, I mean, the Hornet did as much combat as the Harrier did, right? I mean, it wasn't like the Hornet guys were back in Conus. Well, Harrier guys were dropping bombs. I mean, sometimes the Mew were doing stuff, maybe off a Mew that the Hornet guys weren't there. But typically, if it's something big, the Hornets were there, F-16s were there, A-10s, F-15s, all the major players got to participate in the end anyway.
In fact, as I recall, you were with the Bumblebees in 331 during Gulf War I. Am I correct?
You bet. Yep. We did. I went to 203, then I went to 331, did a Westpac, did the very first ever AVAB Westpac, Iwakuni, Japan. And there's always some good stories from there too, good and bad. And I went there on the skipper's A team, then I went to the B team. It's a couple of stories there, but why I got on this shit list literally in Iwakuni.
I find that
Did you
I find
run
that
over
hard
the
to believe,
zero
Lawman.
hangar?
What's that?
Did you run over the zero hanger?
The zero. No, I didn't. Well, I'll tell you one story from there. So our skipper, and I'll be careful here. The skipper
Yep.
was really political, and he wanted to make full bird colonel, and he was determined to make full bird. And back then, they didn't have boards for command slate. You basically, if the commanding general, whoever liked you, he could make you a group commander. You're a colonel. Same thing as squadron commander. Group commanders and CGs can make you a squadron commander before they had command screen boards. So his goal, he made it clear to all of us, I'm going to be a full bird colonel, and I'm going to command Mag 12. I'm coming back here, and you guys are going to get me there. So we were a very talented squadron. We had a lot of good guys in VMA 331 then. First AVAB squadron, first Westpac. A lot of good guys wanted to go. So he was giving this brief about the Harrier capability to all the big dogs. First, Mag 12 CO, and then the wing commanding general, and then the MEF commanding general, and then he had the admiral in charge of all Westpac, all Pacific. Basically, St. Pac was going to come to our ready room at Iwakuni to listen to our skipper give a brief on the Harrier capabilities. This is a brand new asset in Westpac, especially with Korea and all that.
Hey, Lawman, what year is this?
1989.
89. All right.
Yeah, we went June to December of 89. Nice. Transpacked all the way over there and transpacked back. And then 542 took our spot. So this is the big deal to the skipper, and we all had to be there. Every pilot had to be in the flight in a flight suit, polished boots, in the ready room as an audience, an attentive, interested audience. While he gave his brief with remember the old slideshows,
Yep.
Sure. So
he would
applause signs and
almost like that. Yeah. Everybody clap now. And of course, being a bunch of JLs, he was saying a bunch of bullshit about the range of the Harrier taking off with no tankers, going from Iwakuni to range targets in North Korea and come back with a full load of bombs, 6 Mark 82s with no tank. Yeah, we're all like going, bullshit, bullshit, in the back. But they would point to the whole history of the squadron on these pictures on the wall, and he would talk about VMSB 331 in World War II, and he'd go through the whole thing from jet age and all that. The whole history was boring as hell. It really sucked. So Admiral Moss was going to come to our squadron and listen to Lieutenant Colonel give this brief. And the point of time, it was a Friday afternoon. We're not flying. Smurf, remember Smurf?
Yeah.
Yes.
Smurf was the only guy who was going to take a jet out for a maintenance check flight. Nobody else was flying because of this dog and pony show with this Admiral. We polished rocks and stuff, clean things up. And so the point of time comes and there's no Admiral. Then a half an hour goes by, then an hour, then maybe an hour and a half. Like, where's the Admiral? And we were stuck on the second deck of the ready room, the hangar. Can't leave. And so Dickie Joe, Snake, was their XO. So Snake was the XO, Hobbit was the OPSO. And I made the excuse I need to go down and use the head. There was no head upstairs. Maybe excuse go use the bathroom downstairs. So Snake, all right, long man, but you get right back up here. I went down to the phone in S1 admin, and I used like toilet paper or something or paper towels, and I muffled the phone, and I called the ready room. And,
God bless you. Oh
yeah.
Oh.
And Pope
Yeah.
was the ODO captain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Captain, blah, 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 VMA 331 ready room. I help you, sir. I said, and I disguised my voice pretty well, I thought. And I said, hey, this is Lieutenant Savoy. I pulled a name out of my ass, Savoy.
Yeah.
I am Admiral Maz's personal aide, and I'm calling to regret to inform you that the Admiral can't make the brief today. The C-12 broke down in Atsugi Naval Air Station. He's unable to attend. And Pope tells the ready room, I can hear guys above me cheering and all right, the brief's been canceled, And then the XO walks, well, who's this? Who's this again? This is Lieutenant Savoy, Admiral Maz's personal aide. So I repeat the whole story to somebody else, and then they're getting ready to break chalks and send everybody home. And then, but somebody goes, wait, let me talk to this and say, wait, Lawman, is that you? They heard my voice and they go, yeah, it's me. I'm just playing a joke. God damn it, it's Lawman playing a joke. Everybody stay put. Well, everybody heard that except for Smurf, who had just done his paperwork after the maintenance flight. He bolts downstairs. The skipper's outside in his piss cutter and flight suit. It's hot. It's August. He's pacing back and forth in the hot sun with his note cards, memorizing his speech.
Right.
And almost knocks, Smurf almost knocks him over. He goes, hey, sir. And he goes, skipper, hey, where you going? The Admiral's coming any minute. No, he's not, sir. The aide just called the ready room. They're not coming. What? Oh, damn it. So he doesn't go upstairs to verify this. He goes into, and Smurf didn't hear the joke part. So the skipper
Oh,
walks into his office on the first deck and calls base operations where the commanding general's waiting, the group commander, the base commander, and little
shit.
brass quintet from the First
Sure.
Marine Aircraft Wing Band, you know, and the tour out there on the
Sure.
tour, the whole welcome carpet, you know, the red
Oh,
carpet
yeah.
treatment
Yeah.
for this major, you know,
Yeah.
admiral coming in.
For the sink pack.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. He goes, "Hey, sir, this is Lieutenant Colonel, you know, such and such. Hey, we just got the call from the admirals. They're not coming." Oh, what? Oh, okay. Everybody stand down. Put the band back on the bus. Roll the carpet up. And they started to disperse. Then the skipper walks upstairs, and I'm talking to
Oh boy.
Snake and Hobbit at the top of the ladder well. And the skipper's all sweaty and he's upset. "Well, Snake, go ahead and dismiss the guy. There's no sense hanging around here." "Well, why is that, sir?" "Well, didn't you get a phone call? The brief's been canceled, right? Nobody's coming." "Oh, sir, that was Lawman playing a joke on Pope." "Oh my God." He runs back.
He's already turned the
downstairs.
band away.
Now he's trying to go put the toothpaste back
Oh
in the
yeah,
tube.
man. They called back to base ops and they "Get the band back out there. He's still coming." And no kidding. The C-12s are like short final.
No. No.
Oh, I think they
Oh.
barely made it. They got enough of an entourage that somebody met the admiral and they bring him right over to
Oh.
331 and the skipper's so rattled, he's a mess. And plus we had, of course, being junior officers, we had moved all the pictures around, rearranged the historic sequence of photo, you know.
Yes.
And so he's pointing to the wrong
Yes.
picture, then he's all confused and it was a mess. So then we all, of course, adjourned to the O Club
Yes.
where the admiral hears about this story somehow. I get called over. Now the admiral thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
The group commander thinks it's funny. I think the wing CG thought it was funny.
Yeah. But the skipper.
Everybody
did
thought it was funny, but the skipper. So later on at the O Club that evening, we get the word all officers meeting 0730 Saturday morning, being May 331. And everybody looks at me and goes, "Oh man, this is your fault." So we all go back over there. We're all in our flight suits in the ready room and waiting for the skipper to come up. He doesn't show up. Snake goes downstairs, comes back up. He said, "Gentlemen, the skipper is so upset he can't talk to you." He goes, "But here's the new rules." He goes, "Number one, for the remainder of Westpac, there'll be no more laughing, scratching, joking around. Everybody will be serious about this job over here. Number two, Lawman, you are prohibited from using the telephone for the remainder of Westpac." I go, "What?" He goes, "You are not allowed to touch a telephone." I go, "Yes, sir." Then he says, "This will be here. We're going to refer to this as the Lieutenant Savoy incident. And Lawman needs to see my office right now." So I go downstairs with him and he goes, "I got the skipper's personal shit list right here in front of me. And it was written in purple felt, and the skipper used purple felt pens to make sure it was him."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Lawman," it says shit list. He said, "The first three names is Lawman, and Lawman. Number 4 was Smurf. The brief's been canceled. The brief's been called Paul Revere for a while." And he said, "This has nothing to do with what happened yesterday, but I got to send somebody to Pohang, Korea for 2
Uh-huh.
weeks of duty in the field as a fixed wing fragger.
And guess
Oh,
who
man.
that is?
Pack your shit. You're going to Korea."
Has
Anyway.
nothing to do with yesterday, though.
Oh yeah. So I was skipper did not like me after that and the Netherlands incident, but anyway, that's where I
How
got my
about
worst
that?
fitness report. So I got one that was adverse initially from my maintenance officer. I went from being a star, 1 of 6 in maintenance to the bottom
To
feeder.
to
To 7 of 6.
Oh yes. How low can you go? You know, in the old system. Remember the old system?
Yes.
Yes.
I got like basically like unsats or below averages. Like, holy cow, man! I knew this is a career ender.
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
double signer.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
the-
highway
and the-
patrol's looking better all the time.
Yeah,
right?
man. The maintenance officer's like, "I'm sorry to do this, but the skipper told me it's either you or me. So he told me to hammer you." And
Wow.
so
Wow.
I said, "Hey, tell you what," I said, just take section C and just write motherfucker and I'll sign it. I don't care at this point because I'm going to get out anyway. You just made my decision. I'm going to leave the Corps. But anyway,
Wow.
so somehow I survived. It got pulled. I think the group commander heard about it and told the skipper to change it back to something
Lighten
that
up,
wasn't
Francis.
quite adverse because it was a
Yeah,
joke.
reasonable.
Anyway,
Come on. Lighten up, Francis.
lighten up,
right?
Francis. Yeah. So that was
Man.
kind of extended my west back a little bit. A few other things happened over there. Kind of fun. We had a great time. You know, we went to Kubi Point before it shut down.
Yeah.
That was an experience.
See, we Westpacked in '92, the same time frame, but we went in '92, and Cuba was closed because the volcano had
Mount
wrecked the whole
Pinatubo.
Pinatubo, yeah, Mount
Yeah.
Pinatubo erupted. I think when 231 was over there.
Yeah.
So I think it went us and then 542, and I believe 231 maybe.
Well, 231 was Westpacked right when
They
the war
relieved
came.
us.
Well, the war, yeah,
We
they went
I think
from
we
Westpack,
relieved
yeah.
542. So I think 542 was there when it blew.
Might have been them, yeah, somebody.
No,
so.
no. Hey, repeat. We
Oh, we
relieved
relieved 214. That's right.
214.
The
Yeah.
West Coast Squadron, the Black Sheep.
Okay,
I
yeah.
forgot about that. But, yeah.
Hey, were those airplanes brand new, Lawman, when you guys took them to Westpack? Were they brand new?
The Bs are, yeah, RABBs are pretty much brand new. And and again, the skipper was big on paint. We had, 400 pounds of paint on each jet. We painted,
sure.
it was really,
Yeah,
we overdid it, dog and pony. Yeah, but pretty brand new airplanes. And I got lucky. As a first lieutenant before we went over, I went there to the captain, but I was a section lead, division lead, NATO's checker, instrument checker as a first lieutenant in VMA 331.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal back then. And then did the med float with USS Guam, piece of shit boat, in '88 with Buckwheat, Satchmo, Oscar, Nightmare, Pope, a British exchange pilot, TC, and myself.
TC.
Yeah,
TC
he did
bought
a 203.
bicycle for
Yeah,
me
203.
when I was in Hawk Missiles,
Yeah,
and I came back and I got my very first ride in a T-Bird was in his back seat, and he showed me how you could hover in the braking stop.
Wow. Yeah. Well, he had a lot of, he was in a program back when the Royal Air Force pilots could either designate themselves to be a professional pilot and fly jets for their whole career or
Right.
do the command track. And he was just a professional. He had a shitload of Harrier time for anybody our age. He was, much more experienced in the jet
Right.
than American pilots were for the same time frame. But all he did was fly, but he was always cheating. On low levels, our minimum was 200 foot above the ground for section low level work. And TC was down there at 50 feet all the time, raging around like a Brit. And we all say, hey, TC, you gotta step it up, man. You gotta bring it up here, at least level with me. The Brits, they were aggressive.
Yeah.
And we snuck him over. In fact, our skipper wanted to take him on his boat deck, and headquarters Marine Corps said no, because we're going to spend a lot of time with the Spanish. And, the Brits and Spanish are still kind of butting heads. This is in the 1980s.
Yeah.
I guess there's still some friction there in that part of the world.
It's the whole Rock of Gibraltar thing.
Yeah, exactly. Gibraltar thing. Exactly. It's still an issue. It's still a thing. So
It's still a thing.
yeah. So the skipper was told, no, you can't take the Brit. Pick another American pilot. So our skipper, who ended up making 2-star, Naval Academy grad test pilot, really smart guy, said, fuck it, I'm gonna send him anyway. And we disguised him as a Navy pilot because he had the long hair, the bushy mustache, he wore those funky boots.
Right.
There's no way we can pass this guy off as a Marine. We
He's
can
a
make him
Navy
look a
guy.
Navy pilot. So he became Tim Chill, U.S. Navy, TC. And we landed over there, met the boat out of road to Spain, jumped on board the boat, floated around, did all that kind of stuff, went to Balikashir, Turkey. But my job, I'm the only sober guy. I didn't drink alcohol. I swore up alcohol as a state trooper. So my job was to get all these other drunk idiots back either to the base or back to the ship, herding drunk cats.
Oh,
And these guys in Road to Spain, I must have paid more bar fines, handed out more money to bartenders for broken shit that these guys, Buckwheat and these guys are breaking stuff. And Buckwheat had me steal a Navy staff car. We're supposed to meet some Marine Harrier pilot who was training the Spanish, the retired Harrier guy, old legendary guy, I can't remember his name, but I went to get a car from the motor pool and they said, no, you can't have a car. You have to have special orders. Well, we don't have any orders. We're just a bunch of Harrier guys off the boat.
Yeah.
So Buckwheat said, go get me a damn car. So I found this paperwork and I forged it. And Buckwheat signed it. So we illegally took a black and white Navy sedan with illegal paperwork out the front gate. And the Spanish guys were really looking at this paperwork closely, but they waved us through. Went to all these bars, broke a bunch of shit, got in a lot of trouble. On the way back, I'm driving this car with all these drunk Marines with me, and we're going on this highway, this twisty mountainous road, and one of them they're grinding the right doors against a guardrail. They're opening the doors at like 60 kilometers,
Oh,
and they're grinding the
shit.
doors against the guardrail.
No.
Sparks are flying. They think it's funnier than shit,
No.
Oh, I'm not kidding. Yeah, they're grinding the doors. So I can't cross the lane because of the traffic. So I'm stuck against this guardrail, and the doors are open. Sparks are flying. I signed for this car, Captain Hancock. We get back to the BOQ on base, and I parked the car, and they ambushed me with fire extinguishers, but they weren't fire extinguishers; they were chemicals. So my brother Harrier pilots attacked me in the lobby with chemical fire extinguishers. I turned green the next day. I had washing chemicals off me.
Oh no.
So we went and turned the car in. I parked it with all the damage on the far side of the parking lot, so they couldn't see the obvious damage to this car we had done.
Yeah.
And we ran to our jets and flew on board the USS Guam. And I thought for sure there'd be paperwork following me. I never heard about it again, but that was. And then TC jumped out of a jet in Balıkesir, Turkey.
No.
Yeah, we're doing display determination. It was the last day of the exercise. Hornets with us in a tent city. Satchmo, we were flying with these F5 guys, Turkish F104s and F5s. They love Satchmo. They kept wanting to take him to a Turkish bathhouse. I don't know what it's about him. They didn't like me so much. He and I were a section at one point. They love Satchmo. I mean, the big guy, the big bush mustache.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
oh, you come take Turkish bath with us. Oh, maybe next time. Oh, you come take Turkish bath. We show you Turkish bath. And so the last day of the exercise, we're down. We had only had 4 jets, and we made it say, hey, we only have 1 jet left for the next section. It was Tim and I, TC and I had briefed this mission to fly with some Hornets and F104s, do a target strike, Air Force aggressors, and then come back in for a photo shoot over the head of the airfield. 1 jet's left, so TC and I flipped the coin in this tent, in a GP tent, for who gets to fly this last sortie on this exercise. So he launches with 2 Hornets, 2 104s, low-level strike, come back in, and supposed to come back for the overhead. 2 Hornets, 2 Harriers, so supposed to be in the 2 104s. Yeah. And 2 F104s come back in by themselves. Wait, what's going on? And then 1 Hornet comes back. I look out to the south end of the airfield, and I see this big billowing black cloud of smoke.
Oh no.
And I went in immediately, and I told Buckwheat, I go, we got a jet down south of the airfield. He goes, how do you know it's a Harrier? I go, well, there's a Hornet out there and there's a Harrier. Which one do you think it is? And sure as shit, it was the Harrier. The Hornet flight lead looked back at TC and Echelon and said, hey, TC, you're on fire. No firelight. Yeah. TC looks in his mirrors, and sure as shit, he's got flames out the ass end of the airplane. So he ejects. So TC took the jet we flipped the coin for and jumped out of it in Balıkesir, Turkey. And then, of course, we had to tell the whole world that the mishap pilot
was actually a Brit.
Royal Air Force.
He was Navy. Oh, yeah, Air Force. That's right.
Royal Air Force pilot flying a U.S. Marine Corps airplane in a NATO exercise in Turkey.
Whoops.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So TC got to jump out of one. Yeah.
So what was the cause of that, Lawman?
Turbine blade failure. Catastrophic engine. Yeah, some of the blade, or maybe a compressor blade, shit itself and went down the whole section, and then took out the turbine section,
So that may have been the first one of several, right?
It was probably one of the first ones. That was 88. So that was early on. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a rash of those.
We had countless after that. I can't remember how many. VMA 331, the Bumblebees, one point, I don't think I'm exaggerating, 7 Class A mishaps over maybe a 5-year period.
Wow. That sounds about right. It was horrible. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I think only one, maybe one of those might have been pilot error. The rest are all catastrophic. Yeah. Nightmare jumped out of one.
Yeah.
Engine failure.
Impingement.
We had Jazz. He was the very first lieutenant to jump out of an AVAB with flap impingement when nobody believed it was flap impingement because the engineer said it can't happen. It's a redundant system.
Yeah.
What the lieutenant is saying couldn't have happened. And nobody believed it until,
They
didn't pull his wings. It took him a year. Jazz, who actually gave me I'm thankful for him. He gave me my call sign, or he nominated him for Lawman when they were trying to give me a call sign in BMA 331. Jazz, thank God, put on the whiteboard Lawman, because I had other nominations were Festus or, Barney, Barney with the one bullet. They're all like law enforcement related, cuffs or sticks or policewoman. Thank God policewoman was too long to say on the radio.
It's too many syllables. No,
yeah,
Lawman's
too many syllables.
perfect,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Come on.
So thank God Jazz nominated me for Lawman, and Lawman won the vote. But Jazz was the very first Marine first lieutenant to jump out of an AVA-B, McDonnell Douglas AVA-B, flap impingement on a GCA wave off, Cherry Point. Barely got a swing in the chute and got out of the jet. I mean, barely lived.
Yeah.
And they wanted
Wow.
his ass. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Headquarters Marine Corps, the wing, everybody. Man, he had to fight for probably about a year to get reinstated. And then of course, I don't blame him. As soon as he was free to leave the Marine Corps, he left and went to American Airlines, or a major, put it that way.
Yeah.
And then
You
he went
remember
to Boston.
Julio? Hey, do you guys remember Julio Yaguez?
Julio was with us. Yeah.
So
Oh,
so he was a
names.
Spanish exchange pilot in VMA 223, and he jumped out. Well, he literally jumped out of an airplane that burst into flames as he was taking off. I was walking into the hangar. I just finished flying, and I remember how you'd run it up, check the nozzle pressure, and then hit military
Blood
power.
pressure.
Go.
Yep.
I heard all that going in the background. I was walking in, and then it sounded like somebody had thrown a match on a barbecue grill after they dumped a whole bottle of lighter fluid. I heard this whoosh. I turn around, and all I see is the nose of a Harrier going down the runway with this giant ball of flame behind it. He got it to a stop. The canopy came open, and he took one step and landed in the grass.
Wow. Holy cow. Yeah.
But that was an intact airplane, and that was the beginning of it was turbine failure.
Yeah.
And they had an airplane intact, and they had turbine blades to look at, and that's how they found out it was a batch. They grounded the whole fleet for
We had
time inspection.
I can't remember how we had all the red stripes we had. Remember the red stripe?
Yes.
A lot of guys even had the beer occasionally hanging, waiting to break it out when there's a red stripe, when they ground the entire Harrier. It sucked, but I used to remember praying, Harrier would go down either, Cherry Point, Yuma, on that somewhere, or, Westpac or somewhere. And you would hope and pray, hey, it sounds bad. I'm not trying to disparage the unlucky Harrier guy that was flying that jet, but I used to hope and pray it was a pilot error. Please let it be pilot error.
Right.
Because if it was pilot error, the rest of us was going to continue flying.
Yeah.
If it was questionable catastrophic material failure, then you're looking to ground the fleet. Nobody's flying.
Right.
So,
And that
it sounds, a bunch of East German judges like, hope that guy fucked it up and put the jet in the dirt, it was his fault,
Because then we can learn from it and, as well.
move on. Yeah.
So,
Well, we had, so 331 had a boatload of mishaps. And sometimes just a matter who signed for that jet that day. That jet was going down. And no matter how good you were, of a Harrier pilot, how well you knew your boldface, memory items, something breaks that's significant, that jet's going down with or without you. You're going to pull the handle or not. You're going to get out.
Yep.
Oscar, Nightmare, countless other guys. Thankfully, most of them, all the guys in Theater One, and for peacetime ejections, all got out and had a story to tell afterwards.
there you go.
Well-
Exactly.
Well, speaking of peacetime, that's a good segue. I wanted to ask you about your combat tour.
Yeah,
Okay,
331. Yeah, so
Hang on just a second. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt real quick because we're just close to an hour. So I think
Really?
we're
Already?
gonna,
Man.
we're going to easily do 2 shows with this. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your service, and we're going to close it out here, and we're going to come back again next week with Lawman. Break. All right. Welcome back. We're talking to Lawman from last week's show.
Gosh,
you
it's
go.
been a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Good to see you again,
How you been,
Lawman.
Lawman?
Yeah.
How was your week?
Yeah.
Right.
Missed you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So obviously this is a continuation of the recording from the previous show, but so we're talking to Lawman, and he was described being in VMA 331 and some of his peacetime exploits. He wound up flying in Gulf War I as well. So Fig, you were just about to ask him about.
Yeah. So he made the comment of some of the mishaps that had happened in peacetime, and it just said, well, you're a combat aviator, and I want to pick your brain. Tell us about your combat tour. How did it go for you? 331, you guys were on a boat, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, we were on the USS Nassau, or the Nauseous as we called it, LHA-4, and it was a short notice thing. I got back from Westpac in '89 December, and a guy named Woody, I'll just go call signs
Yeah.
here,
Yep.
Yep.
Woody, and I on the same day, and he was a WTI extremely competent, really good pilot. On the very same day, we went from VMA 331 to 203 to be IPs. So I was instructor pilot at 203 for fairly, it turned out to be a short period because we got interrupted by Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait in the summer of 1990.
No manners.
And so, in fact, to be honest with you, Woody and I had designs of getting out of the Marine Corps at that point. We'd done a Westpac, we'd done a MEU float, we'd done everything you can in the peacetime Cold War Marine Corps, that you operationally, right?
Right.
There was no combat ops. I mean, we didn't do Grenada, we didn't do, Beirut, that kind of stuff, so we're going to pull chocks, got our ATPs I got mine out of Kinston, North Carolina, flying a piece of shit Piper Seminole, and Delta Airlines was, that other airlines were hiring. So, hey, we're going to go to the airlines, majors. And then Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. And 4 days later, he and I were on board USS Nassau. And we were kind of volunteers, if you will. Because he and I had previous boat experience from the previous cruise. Not every Harrier pilot, as we all know, gets to go on the boat, especially back when you had debts only,
Right.
9 guys get to go. And because we had boat experience, we were asked to return to VMA 331 to augment them. 20 jets on the USS Nassau.
Yeah, not a debt, a whole squadron.
A whole squadron, the entire flag, the skipper and everybody, sergeant major, all the troops. And they had been preparing to go to Norway for winter training.
Okay.
So they had to repack a lot of shit. Now they're going to the desert. So he kissed his pregnant wife, Woody, did Pierside, down to Morehead City, right down the road here from Cherry Point,
Right.
pregnant with their first child. And I was married, had 2 kids, small kids. I flew a jet. So my FCLPs, field carrier landing practice, I hadn't been on a boat in, year plus, whatever, 2 years. I got the balance at one of the pads at Cherry Point, like North Pad. I got 4 landings, vertical landings at the North Pad. And they go, Lawman, you're now carrier qualified. And they waived everything.
Right.
I flew a jet the next day with 4 drop tanks on it to a vertical landing, sitting pierside almost right up on the anchor there in Morehead City. And then we sailed for
Wow.
Desert Shield, which sucked. So, all men back then, no women on board the ships.
Right.
Right.
I was in a 4-man stateroom like most pilots. We got lucky. We got 4-man staterooms, because we were, air crew. I roomed with Beebs, Scorch, who became an astronaut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great guy, test pilot, astronaut, flew the space shuttle 3 times.
He's at my company now. We're actually trying to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
him on
yeah.
here.
Yeah, oh, he'd be a great one. Yeah, Scorch, he and I go way back.
Okay.
So, he was in my shared room with him and Woody. And, Desert Shield sucked. We were at sea the first time we set sail 100 consecutive days.
Wow. No.
100 days of
port.
sea. I was, yeah.
Blue water ops, 100 days.
Blue water ops, yeah. And, flying only daytime for the most part. I mean, hey, because none of us are qualified. None of us had, these are day attack Harriers, hydromechanical. We didn't have
No fade
the
out.
digital jets.
No
We're all hydromechanical, so like a carburetor, tweaking the carburetor to get the engine just right. And it was a weird, we fought the Navy for months. It was a battle with the Gator Navy on, flying shipboard ops, conducting flight ops. In fact, the skipper, the boat was a A6 pilot. We thought, hey, this guy, he's one of us. He's a brother attack pilot. He's going to be
Right.
great. We're going to have a great skipper. He's one of us. He's a brown shoe aviator.
He's a naval aviator. Come
Yeah,
on.
man, he's going to love us. He's going to be hanging on the ready room, talking, swapping flying stories and shit. Never saw the guy. Never. He never once in the entire cruise ever came to our ready room. It was crazy.
He's
In fact, I thought he would
He's
come on the.
intimidated by the manhood of
I
the
don't know what it
Marine
was.
Harrier
Yeah,
pilots.
yeah. Harrier guys. He would come on the, the MC, at night
1MC,
intercom system. We called it the 1MC hammer.
Yeah.
Back then, and he'd make his announcements and stuff, and his picture was posted all over the ship, with the plan of the day. So I saw his picture all the time. I heard him on the 1MC, but never saw this guy. So I made a mission to try to find this guy. His name, call sign was Skippy. And for weeks, I walked around this POD trying to find is the captain alive, or did the crew kill him? Did the Navy crew kill him and throw him overboard? And someone was pretending to be the skipper. And so I found him one time.
Skipper.
Yeah. I walking through the ACLAM room. It was like I think it was like the anchor room. And there was a ping pong table. And there's these sailors playing ping pong. And one guy, khaki trousers, white T-shirt. And I walked by, oh my God, that's the skipper. That's the captain. So, hey, sir, are you the captain? He goes, Yes, I am. Okay, now you are alive. All right. So the next time I saw him, he came through I was the power line OIC. So all the engine mechanics and guys that supported the Harrier, the brown shirts all worked for me. And we had a little room off the island. You know, you walk right on the flight deck level, you walk in, you can walk through the flight power line division of the Harrier guys, then get into the island superstructure. And over a period of time, again, no women back then.
Right.
These Marines started to hang in, you know, Playboy centers, full shots on the walls, you know, then
Sure.
a naked shot here, a naked chick here, a naked chick here. And then after a while, it got to be like wall to wall to the ceiling of naked chicks of
That's
various.
motivation. That's motivational purposes.
It was
I
kind of
mean,
motivating, yeah. And it was, but some were kind of raunchy. They weren't all, you know, nice penthouse of Playboy. Some were the other, you know, Cherry or
They
whatever
weren't all
magazines.
tastefully done.
Yeah,
They were not.
some of that gets to be a little much.
Yeah. So one day
We don't need a gynecological class.
some were pretty raunchy, I got to admit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one day the a hatch opens up and the skipper, the captain of the ship, blows through. And he almost makes it to the other hatch. He's going to blow through and go through. And we're all, attention on deck. And he stops. He looks around really slowly. And he goes, who's in charge of this place? Who's in charge here? I said, sir, can't be me, Captain Hancock. I was going to see your ass out here right now. So he brings me in the passageway, chews my ass for this vulgar, offensive wallpaper on his ship. And I want all that stuff down now. And I said, sir, it's a morale thing. I said, these Marines put a lot of time and effort into that wallpaper. I said, you're going to destroy morale. I said, can we make a deal? How about like waist up only? Can we keep the waist up stuff? And he actually, I said, I'll tell you what, you can keep the waist up stuff. Everything below the crotch, waist goes away. So
Okay.
but that was a long, miserable cruise leading up to the actual combat. In fact, it got to the point that, you know, the Harrier single engine, of course, you get a firelight, it's a big deal. If you recall your procedures in a Harrier and a firelight, if you're anywhere near a land-based airport, you would divert nozzles aft. So you don't do nozzles aft. That's the source of fire with the action control system.
Yep.
APU off and do a conventional landing.
Which is an emergency procedure all by itself. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I used to pray, my troops tonight, this is no kidding, my power line Marines, I'd fly twice a day, every other day. After 2 or 3 months at sea, we're near Almasira Island. The Air Force is there.
I need a firelight.
Exactly. The Air Force had women, they had beer, and they had telephones, which we had none of that on board the ship. So the plan was Captain Hancock would get a firelight off the bow, and I would divert, turn an emergency, nozzles aft, and divert and land at Almasira Air Base, where these Marines would come rescue me. And of course, drag this maintenance operation on for days on end while they swapped the engine out.
Yes.
So we would literally, I'm not making this up, we would get on our knees and sincerely pray to God before I went flying. But please, God, give Captain Hancock a firelight off the bow. You know, not a real fire.
It's a light. We just need a light.
And so I would check the jet, you know, push the master, you know, the lights test.
Make sure the light wasn't burned out.
Yeah. And then I would take off and like, oh, come on, man, give me a light, you know, because I knew Harrier guys that had firelights but no fire.
Yeah.
I knew Harrier guys are on fire with no firelights. But anyway, so we were trying to get ashore, but we were stuck on board the boat the entire war. We lost our first jet when the war started. Buick, Puerto Rican guy out of the Bronx, New York, great guy, good looking guy, man. Tell you, the women loved him. Navy nurses. We finally got a first port call. A Navy hospital ship was there, and Buick, man, that guy was scorned. We were all jealous as hell. He was bringing these good looking Navy nurses back to the stateroom and put some kind of thing around the doorknob, like, don't come in here. Nobody comes in here. Damn it, Buick. And so Buick got killed behind the boat at night on a recovery on the anchor. Catastrophic, something. His nose, we saw it on the plat camera, his nose just, 600 foot downwind. And his nose just, we were unaided. Now, remember, we started flying unaided at the boat with no FCLPs. We got a lecture after months at sea. The commanding general of the Expeditionary Force, I want Harrier pilots qualified to do night close air support. So make it happen. So they handpicked a bunch of us. And we just launched out the boat at night, unaided, day attack jets, and got night qualified. And we lost Buick one night in January. No ejection yet.
Was that on a just training, or was he coming back for a
Training.
combat
No, it was
mission?
not a combat sortie. It was a non-combat sortie
Sweet.
night. I remember when the fireball went off. Holy cow! What the heck was that? Two jets just landed vertically behind the boat over the stern approach, and I was wondering, okay, who's in those two jets and who was that? And did he get out? Right? First thing I
Were you an
the
LSO? Were you an LSO?
not at that time. I avoided as a Harrier major. I became a advanced and training LSO for 214
Okay.
later on in life, but I did not want
Okay.
to be an LSO.
But
I
not
wanted
not
to
on
fly.
that. Not
Nope.
on that. Okay.
I can't recall who was in the tower at that time, but
Pope was an LSO, was he not?
Pope was, yes, but he didn't deploy with us. He had some kind of physiological episode prior to that, so he was
Okay.
not with, or maybe during the cruise we sent him home. I think that might have happened. He got sent home at that point, but so we launched the Starbird search and rescue helicopter. Ship's Huey went over there, and they landed right away because the ship was on the anchor just off the Omani coast, like 4 miles off the beach, and the jet impacted right at the shoreline, and no ejection. So
Okay.
Buick was killed. We sent him home in a transfer case.
Yeah.
And we started flying combat sorties. So what kind of bothered me a lot was that the other squadrons who were land-based were flying from day one, combat sorties. VMA 331 got held back with this amphibious task force. It's this huge deception plan
Right.
initially, which worked. The goal was to tie down multiple Iraqi divisions along the coastline, thinking that this major Marine Corps amphibious task force was going to assault the beaches like Incheon,
Right.
and it did work. I guess it did strategically. It worked to pin down all these divisions, but we didn't fly in combat initially. And then we got fragged to start flying. So the MEF wanted us to start softening up the beach line a little bit, dropping, hitting artillery sites, AAA sites, whatever else, And so we flew our first combat mission, dark takeoff off the boat. The very first ever launch of Harriers into combat. So it was VMA 331. It was the skipper, myself, Woody, and Pee Wee.
Yeah.
All right. You remember Pee Wee?
Yes.
Yeah. Another story there later on. I'll tell you, I flew with his son, who was killed in the KC-130 years later. But I flew a KC-130J in Afghanistan with his son, Kevin. But
Yeah.
so we had a night takeoff with the skipper leading it, rendezvousing at night off the boat on the North Persian Gulf for a night takeoff, but it got pinky and the weather was dog shit. So we had 4 Mark 82s apiece. 2 of us had defensive electronic countermeasure pods, DECOM pods on board.
Yeah.
And we climbed to like 36,000 feet.
Which,
Above the,
I know, but with all that gear on there, are you kidding me?
power
Right?
in the corner. And these are hydromechanical fuel controls. So I remember I was a maintenance check flight pilot. I was looking at the corrected RPM, but the Rolls-Royce tech, John Fisher, said, "Don't look at it; it'll scare you." Because I'm giving you all the power I can. It's like Scotty on Star Trek. I'm gonna give you all the power I can.
She's got.
Yeah. So I remember looking at the engine page and go, "Oh my God, is this engine going to last?" It was just screaming.
Right.
But he was giving us all the power we had. And we, so being Marines on our very first combat flight, our primary target was socked in, solid undercast, high 30s, mid 30s. Secondary target completely socked in. So what do? We press to our tertiary target. Of course, we want to kill something, man. We want to drop something.
Well, yeah.
And so we went further north than we should have gone, with no support, nobody, just 4 stupid Harrier guys, 4 knucklehead Harrier guys off the boat.
Yeah.
And we
This
started
is where
getting
I ask, what could go wrong?
Yeah, what can go wrong? So we started getting SA2 indications from our 11 o'clock. Woody picked them up first. So we're in battle box, right?
Yeah.
About a mile apart from each other, battle box.
Yeah.
Like 36,000 feet, right above a solid undercast. And all the tech manuals and all studying history says, do not fly over a solid undercast
Ever.
if there's radar missile threats. Because
Ever.
why?
Yeah.
Because you can't see the launch, you can't see a missile trail, you can't see the missile. Don't do that.
Scott O'Grady will tell you how that worked.
There you go. Yeah, we ignored all that. Hey, we're going to go north, man. We're Marines, we're going to kill something. And then it went from remember the go like from semi, to critical, and tell you, hey, this radar is looking at you. And we got engaged by an SA2 at about 36,000 feet. And it actually, when I'm wondering if it actually was a missile or just or they're looking at us, trying to get us to jettison and turn back. But an actual SA-2 came out of the clouds, flew underneath my jet in the middle of the battle box and detonated. Nobody got fragged because of the countermeasure pods worked. We think that's what they created that. Remember the acceptable miss distance,
Right.
So we all doing like G.5, 2 Gs, and maneuvering drones going. I'm putting out chaff in flares at 36,000 feet. Chaff,
and no authority up there. Yeah, no turn authority.
Yeah. The jet was a pig. It's barely flying.
Oh my gosh.
So skipper said, "Hey, join on me." He had a target. We went to fingertip after the missile had blown up, and we all joined the fingertip on him. And when he got a auto solution on some Iraqi regimental headquarters, we all pickled with him. And so 16 Mark 82s from like 35,000 feet, and then we turned like cowards and ran back towards the boat.
Hey, Buffett.
Our best turn. And no BDA, of course, because the only BDA I can give you from that was that we know the bombs hit the ground because of gravity. That's about it. Other than that, but fast forward. So that was our introduction to the war. And I tell you that story because fast forward the last day of the war, February 27th, I was leading the same division off the boat early in the morning again, but the ground war had started. The Iraqis were running, and it was me, Pee Wee, Mystic, and Woody. Night launch over the Persian Gulf, Pinky, sun's coming up. We get assigned a target, lat long. You punch it in, you do an alpha check. So Lawman shows the target bearing, 330 for 72 miles. Everybody says, yeah, 234. You all agree. We're talking to a 2-seat F-18 fastback forward air controller who's telling us that he's in the target area and that he has not seen any surface air missiles because we had already had 4 Harriers got shot down. Prior to this, we knew that missiles were a big threat to the Harrier, single engine. You get hit, you're going down. Nobody was surviving a Harrier with any type of explosive ordnance hit on the jet.
Not taking BDA and coming back.
No. F-18s got hit. 5 Marine Hornets got hit. They all flew back in Saudi Arabia. They shot down A-10s, F-15E. The senior POW was an F-15E Strike Eagle, full bird colonel. So they were shooting down A-6s, Tornadoes, everybody. But a lot of jets are also coming back with battle damage. Not the Harrier. Not knocking the Harrier, but you got no survivability.
It's a design. It's
that airplane's all about weight, and there's no spare room, man.
There's no redundancy, no self-sealing fuel tanks. World War II fighter attack airplanes had better redundancy and survivability than the AVB here. Honestly, got truth. The only thing we could do is don't get hit, and they increased the chaff and flare bundles from 60 to 180, give you more expendables, later on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is don't get hit. Don't get hit in the Harrier. And so, but now we're flying, and so he said, hey, I see some light AAA, but no SAMs, come on down. So we circled, I joined them up in fingertip. I was leading it, and we spiraled down over the Persian Gulf because it's like Vietnam. If you get, the US Navy owned the water, right?
Yeah.
By that point, there was no threat over the water. US Navy owned the water, feet wet. We broke out below 5,000 feet, battle box, pushed north, crossed over the Kuwait shoreline north of Kuwait City, crossed over the highway of death we've been dropping bombs on for several days. It's just a mess of vehicles and stuff. And the F-18 said, hey, targets of opportunity, anything you see moving north of this line, friendlies are here, go north of this line. It's all enemy. If it's a military vehicle, it's Iraqi. Kill it. Not going to mark anything. Take out what you see. So I crossed a highway and I was getting ready to tip in. Now we are below a solid 5,000 foot overcast now, which is high threat again. And we knew this is not smart.
Yep.
We also have Marines we're highlighted,
Yep.
but we have Marines on the ground now. So to us, the acceptable risk level was elevated. We would not have done that earlier in the war. It would have been stupid in a Harrier to be below where everybody can shoot at your AAA and IR missiles, heat-seeking missiles. But with Marines on the ground, we felt a little more compelled to, hey, let's take a higher risk. And the skipper agreed to do it. And the other 2 guys, Pee Wee and Woody, were both patch wearers, weapons tactics instructors. I was the junior guy in the flight, and they all agreed, hey, let's go.
Let's go.
Follow me, follow along, man. So we went in, ducked in. I was just getting ready to tip in from the west side of the highway on some Iraqi vehicles moving north, and we got an abort call. All I heard was abort on our TAD frequency, the radio frequency.
Yeah.
And it's like, you hear abort, what do? You abort, right? Because who's calling that, right?
Yeah.
So I came off hard left towards the west, away from the highway. Pee-wee behind me, Mystic and Woody, and also we get the SAMs, smoke in the air SAMs.
Oh, geez.
Every man break, so move your jet. Move your jet, right? Chaff flares, no raw indications, so obviously, would have been heat-seeking missiles.
It's a man pad at this point.
Well,
Definitely
that or
man
9s or
pad.
13s, because I saw two missiles that looked like really nice trajectory. They weren't like corkscrewing.
Okay.
They looked like they were pulling lead, like there was some pretty good missiles, Woody got hit left hot nozzle. So right, mid fuselage, right below the wing. Woody,
Yep.
-4, gets hit, pitches up on fire, says, "Hey, I'm hit." Goes into the goo immediately. Mystic is getting chased by missile. He pulls up into the goo. Pee-wee and I stayed in a hard left turn below the clouds. I remember turning back all the way around through south, turning back through east and looking north. And Mystic asked Woody, "Hey, if you're in control, turn your jet southeast. Turn it southeast."
Yeah. Head
Because
towards
again,
water.
if you can milk
towards
that
the water.
jet towards the water and you eject, the U.S. Navy is going to pick you up. The U.S. Navy is going to pick you up.
Right.
So Woody said it's uncontrollable. His last radio transmission, it's uncontrollable.
Oh, shit.
I hadn't been looking north, and I'm sure Pee-wee saw it too. I can't remember now, to be honest with you. When his jet came back out of the clouds, nose buried, and impacted the desert floor just north of us in a huge fireball. So I'm thinking, holy shit. But I thought he got out, right?
Yeah.
He made 2 radio calls. He's in
Right.
the goo somewhere and a parachute. But to me,
Right.
the truth is, it was like a really bad movie, And I'll be honest, I just watched a few weeks ago, I watched the new Top Gun movie
Right.
with my
Oh, yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining. I think it was probably certainly better than the first movie. But, and it was
Retarded.
Hollywood, right? There's some Hollywood bullshit in there,
Yeah.
But I got to admit, it got to me. 4 jets off an U.S. boat attacking a target. SAMs in the air. Of course, they had multiple, guy gets hit. But in Top Gun, Maverick, whatever it's called, it's a good news story in the end because you all get back to the boat and they're high-fiving each other and everybody's talking, that's cool.
Sure.
That's a great, they lost a jet or two, right? 2 jets, but they killed the target and they all make it back. And that's a good Hollywood ending. It's not
real
always
life.
that way in reality.
It's not real life.
So anyway, we stayed on scene for a while and no parachute, no seat beacon, but even in peacetime, we had a Harrier guys who had ejected in peacetime and the seat beacon didn't work.
Right.
It never transmitted as designed. So that's not, okay, I knew that.
It's not
Doesn't
the end
mean
of the
he didn't
world,
get out.
right?
Yeah. And so we even took a wind check thinking, hey, the wind favors him. If he's ejected at, above 5,000 feet, the wind is going to push him towards the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. And man, so Pee-wee said, hey, bingo -2, bingo -3. I go, damn, we got to go, And so we turned it over to an F-18 who was racing up north, gave him the on-scene command, went back to the boat and landed 3 jets on the boat. And of course, soon as I land my jet, and I'm thinking about his wife. Now, Woody's daughter, he kissed his pregnant wife goodbye. She was born during Desert Shield.
Right.
He had a 5-month-old baby girl. He had pictures of taped to his wall next to his rack, in our stateroom.
Yep.
And letters from home, maybe a videotape VHS or something like that, but had never seen his baby girl, right?
Right.
And so I'm thinking about her and his wife on the way back to the boat thing. I knew his wife for 5 years, I go, damn it. And we land our jets and it chained me down. And my Marines, we dropped our bombs on a secondary target because of course you can't land with 500-pound bombs back on the boat, right? Vertically.
Yep. Right.
So we did a dump target, landed, and the Marines said, hey, sir, where's Captain Underwood? And I said, he got shot down. They didn't believe me. My own Marines didn't believe me. Come on, sir. Did he divert ashore?
Come on, where is he? Really?
Yeah, don't mess with us, man. Come on. I said, I'm still strapped in my jet looking down and go, hey guys, there's a war out there, We're trying to kill them. They're trying to kill us. And they got Captain Underwood.
Yeah.
Nobody believed it.
Yeah.
We went inside, debriefed intel real quick. We're scheduled to fly 3 times that day. Same division. And I didn't like divisions at all. I preferred sections, but ours. squadron ops, so nobody else really believes in it. And I got it because if one jet goes down, you still got a light division, right? You know, if
Sure.
you go
Yeah.
one jet
Yeah.
goes down, you're not going to launch a single. So I get that, but it was managing 4 jets off the boat through all the command and control wickets and the weather and the fog
That's
of
a lot.
war.
That's a
It was
lot.
a lot. It's too
Yeah.
hard. So skipper said, Lawman, you're going to fly again. I go, yeah, I'm going to fly again. And he goes, okay, you're going to lead this next division. You're going to lead me and Pee Wee again. I go, no, I don't want to be the lead. Because go back historically in combat decades ago, I mean, World War II, Israelis, Vietnam, usually it's dash last, right?
Yeah.
If anybody
yeah.
gets the element of surprise over the target area, lead maybe gets off, and then they know we're coming 2s and 3s and 4s and pairs.
Yeah.
Right.
They're looking.
Right.
They're
Right.
looking for trailers. And Woody, a really accomplished pilot, gets hit as dash 4. I said, I don't want to be the lead. I want to be dash last. That
Yeah.
He goes, nope, if you're going to fly again, you're going to lead us. And I go, oh, shit. So I said, okay. So I led the next division with the 3 of us off the boat. And while we were airborne coming back from our target, and the weather got worse. They shot down an F-16 that morning. They shot down a Black Hawk with that female flight surgeon on board, who became a POW.
Yeah.
The weather got worse. And we talked to an Air Force guy. Say, hey, we're talking to your wingman on the ground. We're going to launch a search and rescue party and go get them. CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue. We're going to get them out about 2 hours. I'm like, hallelujah. Thank you, God. The war is almost over. Woody got back. He's going to have a great story to tell. The Air Force is going to pick him up. Thank God for the U.S. Air Force. Because they're good at that, right? They're really
Sure,
good at
yeah.
combat search and rescue. And they're going to put people's lives online to go pick up a downed aviator. Well, anyway, got back to the boat. I was excited. They went in. They didn't get them. They couldn't authenticate, of course.
Yeah.
It was bullshit. They took some fire. And I'm guessing, we did a debrief a year later, me and the F-18 guys, did some homework, some intel research, especially the backseater. We debriefed El Toro when I was flying A4 Mikes a year plus later. And the best we could surmise was that, of course, the Iraqis knew they shoot down an American airplane. They got that going for them.
Yep.
So they know we're going to come get, if they think there's a pilot on the ground, we're going to come get them. And they know that too.
Yeah. It's
And
a trap.
on our radios broadcast into clear, 243 2828 or 121.5, all in the clear. Anybody at the Radio Shack radio can monitor and transmit or receive on those frequencies, correct?
Right. Yes.
So we're surmising again, it's all speculation. He did make 2 radio calls. So if the Air Force said they're talking to a guy on the ground afterwards, it was not Reg Underwood, Woody.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact, and I can tell you why after, but it was somebody who probably went to, I don't know, maybe went to college in the United States as an Iraqi student and was very fluent. And
Could
primary
speak English with not a horrible accent.
Yeah. So, hey, Ahmed or whoever, you are now Magic 04. They're looking for Magic 04. Tell them you're Magic 04. Come get me. I'm on the ground. I'm alive. Come get me.
Right.
But you can't authenticate.
Right.
Right. So they didn't get them.
That was a trap.
And it was a trap. When they released the POWs, including was it Yaz? The 311 guy got bagged. Was the POW?
Yeah. The 230 or 231 guy.
Bart.
Bart. Yes.
2-star. Yeah, great guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bart.
Yeah.
Was so they released 2 Harrier POWs who had been missing in action, and we thought they had Woody. They don't have them. They released all these POWs, Brits, Americans, Kuwaitis. They go, we don't have this guy. And so days later, an Army tank division going through that part of southern Iraq where he got hit, came across wreckage, Harrier wreckage. I got pictures of that too from later on, but parts of airplanes and stuff. And they said, we got an intact parachute. So, oh, great. We get a message back saying, we got a parachute near the wreckage.
Okay.
So even more evidence that he got out of the jet, right?
Right.
So this congressman from Kentucky is telling his mother, brother, sister, wife, who's got a little baby girl, that, hey, he's alive. We're going to get him back. He's a POW. They don't get him back. And so they go, what the heck? So the Marine Corps sent 2 frogs in there from Gray's registration troops. And they landed and they went through and pick up personal effects, human remains, and crypto gear. Was their mission. That's it. No investigation, just get that stuff and get out of it.
Evidence and go.
Yeah, because it was, they're still in southern Iraq, and it was there's a treaty right now, truce, but get in and get out. And they came back and sent a message to the boat saying, we have what we believe are the remains of Captain, Woody.
Yeah.
We didn't believe it. So my skipper said, hey, can you fly off the boat and go see what they got? Daharan, Fleet Hospital 5. So I threw on a, uniform, backpack, had a set of orders taking me to Saudi Arabia, and a Marine Corps 53 Echo. And God bless Marine Corps helicopter pilots, right? These guys fly me off the boat into some landing zone, supposed to be Sand Hill or something like that, or Eagle on the Saudi coast. And we land and they take off and the dust clears, I'm standing in the middle of this empty LZ, like nobody around me, not a truck, not a bicycle, not a
with
radio.
with a backpack.
Yeah, the backpack on the coastline going, what the hell? Hey,
No
wait,
radio, no cell phone.
I go, what the hell? There they go. Just dropped me off and left me. And I waited like 2 hours in this friggin' desert shoreline LZ. And some Humvee comes totally hopping up and some land scribble. Hey, sir, what are you doing here? I go, I'm at landing zone Sand Hill, right? Waiting for us. Oh, no, it's not land Sand Hill. This is Eagle or whatever. I go, what the hell? They dropped me in the wrong friggin' LZ.
Of course they did.
So, yeah, of course they did. So I hitchhiked to a regimental headquarters and they got me to Fleet Hospital 5, where I went through a body bag with that they said they claimed were Captain, Marine Harrier captain.
Yeah.
So I didn't believe it even. So I opened this bag up and the first thing I saw, I don't know if I can be too descriptive here, but was a piece of skull, with hair on it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd flown with Woody for 5 years, Westpac, Guam, shared a stateroom with him. I knew his underwear. I knew everything about him at that point, and I recognized his hair.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
If you're holding a piece of your buddy's
Yeah.
skull inside your hand in your hand with hair in it, this is him. That's it.
rough.
I mean, but plus it was AVB torso harness with O-box. Remember, we were the only jet that had
Right, had
O-box,
O-box, right.
onboard oxygen generating system.
Right.
And it was an AVB torso harness that was bent and burnt and twisted. Portion was 9mm pistol, actually, which I've kept to this day. I didn't turn it in. I don't know if anybody's going to see this, but it had the blue one burned off of it and was broken up. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah. Oh shit. Look at that.
That's his 9mm pistol that was in that dirt and debris body bag.
Wow.
If you're wearing this strapped to your chest and that's all you have left, that's
Yeah.
indicative of an impact.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high energy impact right there.
Yeah,
buddy.
it's blue and burned
You
off
rode
it in some
straight into the
places.
ground from
Yeah.
thousands of feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was full of dirt. So you can imagine, wasn't much else, but the parachute was there. They had, let me see this parachute.
I don't understand that. Part.
Well, exactly. So let me tell you about the parachute.
All right.
Okay, because what the hell, man, we heard him make radio calls. The Air Force said they're talking to him on the ground. We got a parachute. How can this be Woody?
Yeah. How can this be Woody?
And so I get the parachute, and I'm a jet pilot, Harrier guy, and we all know the seat pretty well.
Yeah.
I've been around seats and ejections and other guys that got out, and the parachute was fully intact, not a burn mark on it, fully intact, every panel pristine. But the spreader gun had never fired. The ballistic spreader gun. Remember when you eject?
Yeah.
The first thing happens, canopy shatters. The
Right.
seat starts to go. A drogue parachute fires and pulls a pin, which ballistically deploys the spreader gun, which spreads the parachute quickly in a 360-degree radius, especially for the Harrier. If you're low and slow, you want a parachute over your head right now.
Right.
The
Right.
spreader gun had never fired. That parachute had simply been knocked free of the headrest on ground impact and had been flung free of the fireball. So the
Okay.
parachute was in fact intact near the wreckage,
Wow.
but had never been used in an
Right.
ejection sequence. You understand?
Wow.
Now,
Yes.
I understand it. If you'd seen it, you'd said the same thing, but a grunt, an Army tank guy, Abrams
Yeah,
tank
it's a
guy.
parachute. It's a
Hey, it's a
parachute.
parachute.
Yeah. Somebody came down in it.
Where's
Right.
the pilot? Where's the pilot? The Iraqis must have him, right?
Right.
I had to convince everybody, including my skipper, that I was with the remains of Woody, and he was
Yeah.
killed in action did not
Yeah.
eject. Nobody believed me,
Right.
and rightfully so. Anyways, yeah, so that was the end of the war, but it ended, of course, on a very sour note.
Yeah.
That was your
So-
last combat mission that day. That
No,
February 20.
the second one we flew without Woody with the light division, me and Mystic and Pee Wee.
Yeah.
Was the last sortie, yeah. And then they,
was
in fact, that
27
same
February.
afternoon, the CFAC, the Air Force General in charge of all the air war, canceled the rest of the ATO.
ATO, yeah.
We're done, canceled, except for maybe mandatory missions. Everything else stopped. So at that point, I was happy because, again, hey, we thought he had ejected, was alive. He's gonna have some great stories to tell his wife and kid and potentially grandkids. It didn't turn out that way.
Oh.
So I took him and a dead Army first sergeant and a Marine Lance Corporal who were ready to be transported back to the States. Because the highest priority for transport back to colonists are human remains.
Right.
I signed for 3 guys, flew to Germany, then on the Dover, Delaware, where they processed the dead. That's a whole nother story about how they do an autopsy on pilots,
you
because it's different.
Yeah. So you didn't go back to the boat at that point in time. You just went
No,
from
I
there.
never went back to the boat. I didn't. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to go say, "Oh, this is bullshit. You don't have Reg under. You don't have Woody
Yeah.
here.
Right.
You got the wrong guy." It's an Iraqi soldier. The jet fell down, flopping, or Bedouin or something. And Woody is a POW. The Iraqis have him. We're going to get him back. I got on board a truck with 3 transfer cases to Riyadh. Jumped on a C5, empty C5, flew to Germany. Then to Dover, where they processed the dead. And because he's a pilot, they do a full autopsy. They got to determine cause of death. Was he,
Well,
killed in
hey,
an impact?
there wasn't
Because-
there wasn't anything there.
There's nothing there. They had 3 fingers of a left hand that, weren't much, they were burned. And back then DNA was kind of sketchy anyway. So they
Yeah.
couldn't do a DNA, but they do, I understand, they want to do a positive medical ID, right?
Okay.
I got that. I was certain in my mind, but nobody believed me. I don't blame them. Let's do it. And they try to do
too much. Yeah, there was too much, albeit bullshit, counter evidence at the point.
Yeah.
at that
I mean,
point,
and
you
of
know,
course,
talk-
everybody hopes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not just the
you got
evidence, but
hopes up.
you hope he's alive.
And denial's a big part of it, right?
Oh, yeah, big time. So they do an autopsy, and they thank goodness on all that dirt and debris these Marines picked up at the impact site. And it was just dirt and stuff. He'd been dead for about 8 days when I first saw the remains, so it wasn't pretty. But all that dirt and stuff they had, there was a tooth, one tooth that had a cavity with a filling in it. It's just a miracle. The submarine scooped this tooth up
Yep.
in this
Unbelievable.
dirt and stuff. And they sent for his dental x-rays at Cherry Point. And
Yeah.
you could have been a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old kid could have taken those dental x-rays and matched that tooth
To that
with that x-ray. That tooth is that tooth right there.
Wow.
And they got a positive medical ID. And then here's I'm not knocking the Air Force, they got a tough job. The guys that do the, mortuary fairs in Dover.
Yeah.
Right.
I watched them process the dead for several days there, including soldiers and other Marines in various states, different ways they died, combat, including some who were fully intact. They put a nice dress uniform on them, open casket, looked like you standing, they were laying there.
Yeah.
And then some that were, non-recognizable and
Sure.
non-viewable remains, I call it, but they
Sure.
have a uniform shop and they do a full dress uniform. So they put Reg's remains into I'll be blunt here, a hefty trash bag, like a heavy duty trash bag.
Yeah.
It wasn't much.
Yeah.
And they had embalming powder, and they put that in this beautiful casket. And they laid these army wool blankets over it. Like you had back in the day, you make your rack,
Right.
wool
Yeah.
blankets over like a human, and they make a human shape, like a mummy shape, best they can, over the remains.
Okay.
And then they have a tailor shop, and I watched them, and they made him a brand new full set of dress blues,
No
With his-
shit.
navy wings of gold, his ribbons, including medals, including a Purple Heart, air medal, everything else they had his records. They know exactly what he rated.
Yeah.
In terms of ribbons and medals. And they laid that reverently over the wool blankets. Then they closed the casket and they marked it non-viewable remains with the intent to never be opened again,
Wow.
but still buried with a full set of dress blues.
That's pretty awesome.
That would have been the same for an Air Force
Sure.
soldier, sailor. Yeah. Full set of, dress uniform over your remains. And no one's ever.
Oh
gonna
man,
see
I
it
never
again.
knew. I never knew that.
I
And,
never
and
knew
that's
they did
that's
that either. That is
No,
that
I
is
didn't know
impressive.
that.
You know, I
That
mean,
is
I
It
know
was
that's-
impressive.
that
Yeah.
goes
So I
back,
watched them
right.
do that. I watched them close the casket up, and I thought, okay, we'll never see this again. But so then I was talking to Pope, who was the CACO, Casualty Assistance Calls Officer, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
they always
Yep.
assign somebody to the family to take care of these matters. And Pope, another Harrier guy, was assigned to the wife, widow, working on it. We're talking back and forth, and he said, "Hey, there's a fairly significant life insurance policy, private, that will pay as a result of him having been killed, but not as a crew member. It has to be combat. If he was a crew member, it won't pay. I mean, if aviation accident, excuse me, you know what I mean?
Oh,
If it's an accident as a crew member, it doesn't have an
Yeah, but
aviation clause.
But if it's a combat loss, it's
Combat,
different.
it'll pay. I said, hey, no, I said, no problem. He was shot down, killed in action. No
Yeah.
problem.
You're
the
pretty
last
much
thing
an eyewitness to that.
Oh, yeah. So last thing I get, I'm waiting for the death certificate from the Air Force, right? Mortuary affairs.
Shit.
I get this death certificate from this Air Force colonel,
I know where
hands
this
it to
is
me, and I
going.
read it very carefully, and it says cause of death, blunt force trauma, impact with the ground, accident, aviation accident, essentially. I said, no, stop.
No.
If you had another guess, Colonel.
I said, it was, yes, blunt force trauma is
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
but
Not due
cause
to an accident.
due to an Iraqi, I mean, Russian made, but an Iraqi
Combat
surface to air missile
Yeah.
hit his airplane
Yeah,
and
blew
shot
apart.
him down. The jet was uncontrollable, and for some reason, he could not get out. And there's speculation there. Was he
Yeah.
injured in the cockpit personally? Was the seat damaged?
Yeah.
Why didn't
Could
he
have
check?
been.
He's going to pull the handle. A guy like Red Woody is going to pull the handle. He's got a wife. He's got a 5-month-old baby girl. He's not going to ride a crippled jet into the dirt, right?
No.
He's going to pull that handle. You
Yeah.
talk to Bart, another Harrier guy who was shot down.
Yes.
If I got it right, he was negative G, inverted spin type thing, out of control. Had to fight, but he got hit at altitude, probably about 15,000 feet or so. He had time to push away from the top of the canopy to get to the handle. Remember, the Harrier only has a lower handle. You have to
Right.
reach that lower handle,
Right.
pull it, or you're not going to get out. So I don't know what state Woody was in, and his jet out of control. When he said it's out of control, uncontrollable.
Right. He
And
could have been negative G pinned up against the canopy, couldn't reach the handle.
But lower altitude couldn't get out, negative G, or pulls a handle and seats damaged
Right.
Yeah.
from the warhead
Nothing
fragmentation,
happened.
or he can't pull them. I don't know. But you can see, based on this one I told you, there's no doubt about it. He was in the jet of impact.
Yeah.
So did the paperwork get?
Well, I had to argue. We had to pull a conference together. I had to convince other Air Force officers. I was pretty upset. I said, I'm not leaving here until that paperwork says cause of death, killed in action, enemy fire, or
Right.
words to that effect.
Yeah.
And the Air Force did the right thing
Oh,
Well, that's
good.
good.
and changed
Oh
it. Yeah,
shit.
so I took, here's the ironic thing. Woody really wanted to be a major airline guy, and he would have been,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And he really kind of favored Delta at that time, whatever, good airline, didn't have a B scale, had a good
Sure.
reputation, never furloughed anybody in the history of the company. And
Right.
he's a Lexington, Kentucky guy, grew up in Kentucky, and Delta flew in and out of there. So he was really, I think, had his heart set on Delta. And so it's kind of ironic that the Marine Corps, whoever fragged it, I escorted them home to Lexington to be buried on a Delta Airlines flight. So his last flight was with Delta
All
to his
right.
hometown to be buried. Anyway, so that's kind of the extent of our Desert Storm, and we lost another jet behind the boat at night on the way back after the
Man-
war.
Is that Manny?
No, Manny Buick, that's Manny. Buick was Manny.
Oh,
He was
Buick,
killed
okay, yeah.
in
Right. In training. Right.
prior to combat operations by BMA 331. Then Woody was tragically killed 22 hours prior to the ceasefire. Can you imagine that?
No.
22 hours. I had to go
Yeah.
to his mother's house and explain to her and his brother and sister what had happened basically, and that you're going to bury your brother and son, even though they've been told by the Kentucky congressman that your son is alive. We're going to get him back.
Damn.
Mom and the brother and sister wanted to go open the casket.
No.
I want to, yeah, because they want to see you. They want to see.
Yeah.
You
know,
ain't there.
I want to see my son's face. I had to try to explain in her mother's living room why you don't want to do that. And she was really upset about that, of course. And she said, you convince his brother and sister, and I won't open the casket. And then his widow shows up hours later holding a little 5-month-old baby girl in her arms. Comes through the back door. I had to face her.
Oh, man, this is horrible.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to be funny stuff here, but it's
no. This is okay.
This is good too.
You asked about the war, and
when we started, it was going to be funny, but also tragic and poignant.
Yeah, and here's the good and the bad news. That was December. Excuse me. That was he got shot down February 17th, 1991. Yes. February 27th, 1991. Early in the morning.
Yep.
And it was about 22 hours later the ceasefire went into effect. Thankfully, right? Everybody else is out, we're stopped shooting at each other at that point anyway. And I was so elated by that. But to this day, Woody remains the very last U.S. military, Air Force, Navy, or Marine Corps tactical jet pilot to be shot down and killed in action by enemy fire. Think about that. Scott O'Grady got out. Yeah. Heck, a former Air Force 4-star F-16 guy got shot down by Serbs.
So almost 32 years ago.
And he got out.
That's a good
other guys.
That's a good record.
It's good. But the last guy, tragically, guys most of us knew.
Yeah. I actually got to fly with Woody. Woody and I.
He probably instructed you at 203 because he was there at 203 when you were a student.
He actually took me on a ride before I started. I got to ride in his back seat, and he was leading a 4-plane bombing sortie. We went out and did that. And we had a Mark 76, and we come in and landing. He goes to taxi across the center mat for another takeoff. I go, can we do that while on ordnance? And he goes, oh crap, no. I forgot. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, man. But he was a really good guy, smart, funny.
Oh yeah.
I got a couple quick stories.
Was he a weapon school guy, a woodpecker?
Yeah, he was a WTI grad. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah. So here's a Jedi Knight, and here's where you go back to combat. And I'm sure
Jedi Knight.
And here's where you go back to combat. And I've seen this. I did a lot of combat tours after, in both OIF and OEF. I did a year and a half in Afghanistan, for example, but both flying and on the ground. And you want to be good, right, at your job.
Yeah.
But lucky, man, you want to be lucky too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because sometimes it matters what jet you were in, what piece of sky, or if you're on the ground, where you stepped, where you stood, what vehicle you're in, where you were seated. When a blast goes off, rounds are coming down. I mean, really, sometimes it does boil down to luck.
That is a basic
good luck or bad luck,
naval aviation, right? It's better to be lucky than good.
Than lucky than good, yeah.
Hey, but before I ask you something, I'm dying to ask you. You just said Afghanistan. What? So I kind of lost track of you for a while there, Lawman. What did you do in Afghanistan? Flying? Were you flying a Gulfstream or something?
No. My first tour there was as a full bird colonel in Afghanistan, as the senior Marine liaison, MARCENT, for both OIF and OEF.
Were you in Bagram or Kabul, or where were you?
No, I was mostly living the easy life with the Air Force at Qatar, Al-Udeid.
Al-Udeid. You're an Al-Udeid.
Oh yeah, man, it's a great story there too. So Al-Udeid is Air Force getting combat pay. I'm living in a brick and mortar BOQ. I got 2 rooms. I got TVs. I've got Wi-Fi. I've got a Dairy Queen, a Burger King, Pizza Hut. I got a full-size gym. Looks like Gold's Gym. LA Fitness. There's women.
There's amazing. Yes.
There's a pool. Remember the Brawl? You could get 3 drinks a day. The Muff and all that.
Sure.
And you could do outdoor pool with a jacuzzi right outside the Dairy Queen. You could in combat zone and combat pay. You could get a blizzard dessert and go out and dangle your legs or hang out in the jacuzzi or swim in the pool with NATO chicks. I'm talking about Air Force, French, Canadian girls in bikinis, sunbathing. Sometimes they got their straps undone like you would like any beach. And I'm like, what? Am I in a combat zone?
Where are we?
Then I would jump on a Marine Corps C-130 or something like that and go to Afghanistan and live and
be well reminded of who you were.
Yeah, and go with Brigadier General Nicholson, who was commanding general of the MEB 4 in Afghanistan in 2009. He's living in a tent in a cot in the dirt and moon dust,
Right.
And so the Marines were having trouble with the ROE. The ROE in Afghanistan was much stricter than the rules of engagement than it was in Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq.
Right.
You could almost kill anything in Iraq, indiscriminately almost. You try to avoid civilian casualties, but Afghanistan was really strict. So you had to have every I dotted, every T crossed to get a bomb off a jet, especially a NATO jet. Good luck with a French jet or Canadian jet getting to drop a bomb. So it really became frustrating for the Marines in 2009 to get bombs off NATO jets on bad guys who were killing Marines or trying to kill Marines. And at one point, this full-bird colonel, regimental G3 operations officer, infantry guy, called the Air Force on the phone at Al Udeid and Qatar, who's running the air show. They tell you when to drop a bomb, when you can drop a bomb, with a lawyer involved too, right? Kind of a lawyer's got to be involved.
Right.
And they were trying to drop a bomb on this pickup truck that had a bomb builder, IED builder, who was racing toward the Pakistani border. And they knew that if you get to Pakistan, he's home free, man. He's
gone forever.
Sanctuary. Right. So the Marine Corps had a positive idea in this guy. They got to kill this guy before he gets to Pakistan, but they won't drop the damn. It was actually a Predator Reaper overhead with a, a bomb of some type, GPU or something like that.
Oh, a drone.
LGB, but it wouldn't release it until the Air Force chain of command and the lawyer said, yeah, do it. So we're getting closer and closer to the border. And this Marine Corps colonel just goes apeshit, calls the KOC, the Air Force Operations Center, and says, if you don't put a bomb on that truck and that truck gets in the Pakistan, I'm going to come there and rip your fucking head off and shit down your throat. To this Air Force colonel who probably broke down in tears. Oh, yeah. He tells the 3-star general that this Marine colonel yelled at him, threatened to kill him.
Assaulted him.
And so I get called in by the 3-star general, said, Lawman, you got to go explain to the Marines how this works over here. So it's not Iraq. You really got a lot of rules here. So they send me to Afghanistan. They call all the JTACs in and all these guys here. Here's how you get a bomb off a NATO jet. Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to say. Here's what you got to do if you want to get a bomb off a jet. All these ROE and all, and explain it to them. So a lot of these guys, are Harrier guys. They're JTACs. They're Ford air controllers, right? Dirty.
Right. Yeah.
They're all in combat gear. They're filthy dirty. They brought them all in on helicopters to meet with me at this friggin' tent at this weapons tactics conference, essentially, if you will, and explain how to get a bomb off a NATO jet or a Reaper or a Predator. And so one of them goes, hey, Lawman, how's life in Al Udeid? Some Harrier guy, I think.
Don't ask.
I was embarrassed. I go, let me tell you about my BOQ room and the Dairy Queen, Pizza Hut, and all this, and the chow halls and the gymnasium and full court basketball. Oh my God, are you kidding me? And you're getting combat bay? Yeah, sure, I'm getting combat bay. And I said, let me tell you about 6-gun Sally. So when I was at the Air Force Operations Center, these Air Force guys said, hey, have you been in the pool yet? I go, yeah, I've been. He goes, have you seen 6-gun Sally? I go, no. Who's 6-gun Sally? I go, oh man, smoking hot Air Force captain. The rocks is tight, teeny white bikini. She's like a world-class aerobics instructor. And she has 2 like 1880s, Smith & Wesson or Colt handguns tattooed to her hip bones with the barrels pointing into her crotch.
Right.
So the barrels disappear into the bikini bottom.
Yeah.
And they called her 6-gun Sally.
Yeah.
No one knew her real name.
Why wouldn't you?
So I went to the pool one day and holy shit, there she was. And they weren't kidding. Rock star body, like, oh my God, this girl is gorgeous. Drop dead. Yeah. Oh my God. 6-gun Sally, man. So I tell these Marines in Afghanistan, it's 10 full of dirty Marines about 6-gun. Oh, okay, sir, you gotta get us a picture. I gotta go back to the dean and get us a picture. And one guy gives us, I'll give my email address. I'll make sure everybody here gets it. If you send us the photo. I said, I can go back and I'll tell 6-gun Sally, hey, from the Marines in Afghanistan, I have no idea how they heard about you, but they heard about you. Want a photo of you and me standing arm in arm. And so I can send to the Marines and to motivate, the Marines.
Yeah.
And I told them about, I saw NATO chicks in the pool too, playing chicken fights. I mean, I'm not kidding. This actually happened at the D. You probably saw it, Big.
Yeah,
I saw guys with girls on their shoulders in the pool playing chicken fights. Like you're back in a college fraternity or sorority party, right?
Yes.
So I told them about the chicken fights. And they go, hey, sir, here's the money shot. Put 6-gun Sally on your shoulders in the pool and get a picture with the 6 guns pointing at your head. I said, okay. I would do that I would do that for you Marines,
Yeah.
except for I send you that photograph on the internet. This is 2008 or 9. Yeah, 2009. 15 minutes later in Virginia, my wife gets a
Yeah.
copy of that photograph with her husband, the Marine
Yeah.
colonel, forward deployed with some smoking hot chick on his shoulders in the pool with some.
Yeah, not good. Not
I go,
good.
not good. So,
No.
of course, in the Marines, very innovative. I go, hey, sir, you're right. Don't get in trouble with your wife. Here's the money shot. Put her on your shoulders, but turn her around so she's facing your face. All we
Can't
see is the
your
back.
face.
We see the back of your head, but her 6 guns in the front of her facing the camera. That was the money shot.
Yeah. No.
That was, I said, oh, that may not happen. But yeah, that was my first Afghan tour. Then I went back with 2nd Marine Corps wing forward under General Walters Bluto, who ended up being assistant commandant of the Marine Corps, great guy.
Nice.
And while I was there for a year, I had the very good fortune, because I'd flown search and rescue helicopters in Yuma as a base commander for 3 years, C-12s, the King Air,
Yeah.
and F-5s for 3 years. He knew I was a Harrier guy by trade. He goes, hey, Lawman, you can fly everything over here, fly with these squadrons, maintenance, morale, standardization, how they're doing, fly with the skippers. You can write a combat fitness report. I'm saying I've flown with this guy in combat.
Sure.
It's a really good deal for you and them. So
Very cool.
in Afghanistan, my last tour as a full bird colonel, as the assistant wing commander, I flew 18 hours in the Cobra, flew in combat, flew the Yankee once, 4-bladed Yankee Huey. I flew KC-130Js, 30 some hours. I flew 30 some
Nice.
hours MV-22 Ospreys.
Nice.
I flew the
Wow.
53 Delta. I flew the 53 Echo, and
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
one Apache, because the Brits worked for us in Helmand Province. I got one Apache flight in the front seat, the HD.
That is awesome.
Yeah, pretty good. So it was a pretty good deal. I got to do some pretty cool stuff as an old Marine colonel. In fact, the CFAC came in, the Air Force in charge of everything, was meeting with General Walters in his little, Marine Corps plywood hut, office in
Right.
Camp Leatherneck that the Seabees had built for us. And he's the general in charge of all aviation in Afghanistan, right? The CFAC,
Yep.
Yep.
commander
Yep.
forces, air forces, everybody, including us, essentially. And we're shooting the shit. I'm in there with him. Hey, sir, I got to leave. Good seeing you again. And he was shot down in F-16s over Serbia. And I can't remember his call sign, but a really good guy. Ended up being the Air Force chief of staff, Viper guy. But he said, what are you going to fly, Lawman? Because he knew we had Harriers in Kandahar. I think 223 was there.
Yeah.
At that time. And I said, no, I'm not flying a Harrier. I'm going to go fly a Cobra today or whatever. He goes, Cobra? He goes, well, you're a Harrier guy, right? I go, yes, sir. He goes, and you're flying a Cobra? I go, yeah, I've been flying Cobras, 22s, C-130s, and he goes, oh, holy the hell, man. He goes, I am the 3-star commander and I can't fly anything over here. And you're going, he goes, you Marines, they got different rules.
I know.
He goes, hey,
It's
he
just
said,
complete-
in the Marine Corps, whoever owns the airplanes, if you got a set of wings on, he says, go fly my airplane. Just don't fuck it up, right? Go fly
Right.
my airplane.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
man, so
Naval
not a-
aviation, you can't beat it.
Yeah, not a bad deal.
All right. So
We got to get
I,
all this time. We got some other stories we got to get to.
well, so here, I'm gonna segue into
Things
this.
rolling in. There you
Oh, I'm rolling in hot.
Oh,
So I'm on El Centro Weapons Det. I'm an instructor down in Kingsville, Texas. We're flying TA Force, teaching students. It's in like January, and the Blue Angels are out there doing their winter training. I don't even put 2 and 2 together that you are in the you're number 2 Blue Angel guy at the time, right? I mean,
really?
I knew
Okay,
it.
Yeah.
I knew it at the back of my mind, but I kind of forgot. So I'm it's middle of the day. I'm in between sorties. Obviously, you're in between sorties. I'm coming in. You're going out of the barbershop or exchange or something. We damn near knock each other over. Like, holy shit, Lawman. Holy shit,
Yeah.
Fig. What's going on? And then so you grabbed me and said, hey, you need to put in an application in. And I'm like, application for what? What are
Yeah.
you talking about? He goes, well, for my job. This is my last year on the team.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you got on the Blue Angels and being a Blue Angel, and what was that like?
How does one?
That was
become a
just
Blue Angel?
that was just a happenstance. I mean, bizarre circumstances. So I went from Desert Storm, BMA 331. I was the first Harrier pilot back at Cherry Point because everybody else was either back on the boat still. Remember, I came back with Woody.
Right.
So I came home early. Everybody else is still waiting to come back home. And the group commander at Cherry Point, the MAG, it was was it 32 still then? I think it was Mag 32.
Yes.
K9 said, "Hey, Lawman, come
Right.
see me." So we shoot the shit about the war a little bit. And he goes, "Hey, you've been here 5 years. You got to go somewhere, you know." So he goes, "Get yourself set orders." So I called the monitor that day, and hey, I want orders to training command. Oh, training command, that's great. I need guys. So he said, "Where do you want to go? What do you want to fly?" I said, "Meridian TA4Js, 2 years." He goes, "You got it." So the next day I got orders to TA4Js.
Yeah.
Meridian. I go, "I want to fly airplanes, man. I don't want to go to amphibious warfare school.
No. Who wants to do that?
I want to go to school. I want to fly airplanes." So the very next day, K9 calls me back, goes, "Hey, Lawman, I got a better deal for you. Hey, good on you, training command." He's all for it. He was supporting that. Because I got to send a captain, to Marine Aircraft Group 49, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, with the reserve A4 Mike Squadron to be the operations officer, the fixed, the active duty guy.
Yeah.
Take care of business. A reservist, and I can't afford to send these guys who just transitioned, the real A4 Mike guys who are now Harrier guys, because they got to get their Harrier time to be credible and competitive as a Harrier pilot, because A4s are gone from active duty.
Yeah.
He goes, "But you have tremendous AVAB credibility, so you can afford to go be an A4 pilot if you want. What do you think?" So I went home, talked to my wife real quick, and said, "Yeah, sign me up." So I went back. So the very next day, I get a new set of orders to Mag 49, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, and they go there to fly the A4. And the deal was A4 Mikes for a year and a half, park those jets in the boneyard, and then a year and a half in the Hornet, F-18 transition. Come on, who would pass that deal up?
Right. So that unit was going to transition to the Hornets.
VMA1, yeah, because the Gators already had done that. One of the other
down in
A4 Mike,
down in Jacks, right?
They went from Jacksonville, I think. They went to Atlanta, I think, eventually. Somewhere, yeah. But the Gators had the F-18, so go, "Oh man, sign me up. A4 Mike, single seat attack jets to the Hornet. Shit hot, man. I'm going." So I go to Willow Grove, and they had these two piece of shit TA4Fs, Vietnam era 2-seat jets.
Yeah.
And because I had flown the TA4J since the training command, they said, "You got to get one 2-seat ride before you go. Single seat Mike. No ground school, no sims." So
and that's
kick the tires, light the fire.
Yeah, man. So yeah, exactly. So I'll segue in that real quick. So I'm waiting to fly. I got there in November. I didn't fly because the only T-bird was these, and not knocking the major airline guys, but there was 2 full bird colonels there on the group staff or something, staff weenies or doing something, augment guys who were retiring soon from Marine Corps Reserves, and they were A4 guys forever. And they wanted to get their 2,000 hours, whatever was an A4, and they were taking the only 2-seat jet we had, a piece of shit old airplane, and they'd go bag 10, 15 hours on a weekend.
Together?
Together. Yeah. And then, keep you out of trouble, and then bring it back broke. So then the jets broke the rest of the week, and they fixed it.
Pilot and command time, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, and it was, and the group commander, who was an old A4 guy, Nickel was his call sign. Good guy, but he was, he's taking care of his brother A4 guys. And here's his active duty captain begging to fly, and I can't go fly because these reserve weenies are taking the only good jet and breaking it. So Christmas comes and goes, and we came back in January. The reserves all take block leave.
Yeah,
right. They all come back, and schedule's out. I'm not on it again. Like, damn it! But this 2-star general was. I'll say General. Let's call him George.
All right.
So he was a senior Marine aviator in all the Marine Corps Reserves, flying airplanes, and he would fly. He was an old A4 guy, and he would snivel, request to fly certain dates. And of course, they're going to take care of this 2-star car lined up, BOQ. Here's the jet, and it was a night T-bird flight, just 2 hours of fam, get his night instrument, back some nighttime.
Yeah.
Well, it was wintertime. It had a major snowstorm came through. There was snow and ice everywhere. This captain supposed to fly with him was a Northwest guy, major guy who didn't make it in, couldn't commute in for some reason, weather, whatever. And so brief time comes and goes. The only other guy there was this 3-year contract guy who was a weasel, who was the only guy I ever know that washed out a 203 twice.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, he was an A4 guy, and then he flew OA4 mics with Hams 32. Then he went to 203 as a captain.
Yes.
And I went through his logbooks. I had all his logbooks at Willow Grove, and I went through it and see what happened to this guy. And what was this called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I went through his logbooks, and you see like FAM 100, FAM 102, 103, FAM 103, refly, FAM 104, FAM 105, FAM 105 again. Multiple flights of which means reflies. He was
Yep.
fell in flights and then reflying. Then you could see by the names, he was flying with all the heavy hitters towards the end. The
Right.
OPSO, the executive officer, the commanding officer trying to get him through the program. And then
Right.
there'd be this big gash through his logbook. No further flights, VMA 2203. Then you go to the next page and he's back in the old 84 Mike, flying the Mike again. So he washed out, but then he married the commanding general's daughter,
Oh,
second mall,
interesting.
winged
Interesting.
commanding general's daughter. So some sheer miracle, he gets a second shot at the
That's,
Harrier rag. Unheard of,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was even possible.
Yeah. I'm not making this up. This is
Even via family ties.
this is a factual, it's a true story. And so he goes back to 203, and it's the same thing now again. TFAM 101, 102, 103, 103, 104, 105, 105, just multiple flights. He drug him out. He had multiple reflies. And with the skipper at the end, again, trying, everything they can to get this guy to fly the Harrier safely
Ain't
and
happening.
efficiently.
Not
They
happening.
cannot pass a safe for solo flight check.
Oh my gosh.
And then same thing, big gash, ruler job, and no further flights, VMAT 203, back to A4s. Hook, call sign Hook.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
go
good.
with that.
Got the
It's
hook.
a good call sign.
So Hook goes, and he's a nice guy, computer geek, smart, brilliant, IT kind of guy,
Yeah.
really smart guy. He's now at Willow Grove flying A4 mics as the full-time 3-year contract guy. Then I'm the active duty guy. So, but he was a seagull. He would not fly unless it was Kavu,
Sure.
perfect airplane, everything's just right. So he was
So
there
a
that night.
seagull is something by definition that squawks and shits, and you have to throw rocks at it.
You got to throw
get
rocks at it to go fly. Yeah, exactly. So he was not going to go fly, and it was nighttime. It was snowing, and he's the only other guy. He's a qualified A4 pilot, and the general's waiting. He goes, "I need a pilot to go with me."
Oh my gosh.
And so Hook starts to cough and sneeze, like, hey, I got
yeah,
this. I can't clear my head. I got a cold. So all of a sudden he goes,
thing.
he's immediately med down. I got this head cold. But hey, so the general points to me. I'm in the ready room hanging out, done nothing else to do at night. And what about that guy? Who's he? What's Captain Hancock, Lawman? He's a Harrier guy, but he's with us now. Well, shit. Hey, Lawman, you want to go fly? Yes, sir. Shit, I'll go fly. So Hook scratches out the flight schedule, puts my name in there, pen and ink change, and signs it because he was the OPSO. And I'm thinking I'm going to go fly with this godlike, general's
Yeah.
been flying this jet for decades. He's going to show me some shit,
Sure.
So
right.
we're suiting up in flight equipment, and he goes, "All right, Lawman." He goes, "Here's the deal, man. We had no brief." He goes, "You're going to be in the front seat. I'll be in the back seat. We're going to fly down to Atlantic City, do some tack-in approaches, come back to Willow Grove and do some PAR instrument approaches at night. Back about 2 hours and call the night. We'll be done." I go, "Oh, that's great, sir." I said, "But I really think I should be in the back seat. I'm not a qualified A4 guy. I don't know how to even start the jet." And he goes, and this is a 2-star general. He goes, "God damn it, Lawman." He goes, "You're in the front seat. I'm in the back. You go out there, just strap me, get the plane cap, and tell you how to start the damn jet. I'll get the walk around." So I go, "Oh my God." I'm thinking, I'm putting my flight gear very slowly now, going, I'm a flight time whore, man. I'll fly anything anywhere, but this is stupid. This is like jumping Jehoshaphat. This is going to be an Approach magazine article.
Oh, this is good. This is an approach article waiting to
This
happen.
is the Approach article waiting to happen. The stupid Marine Harrier guy going flying with this 2-star general at night in a snowstorm.
Jumping Jehoshaphat.
So I dutifully, aye, sir, walk out in the dark through the snow, walking over, plowed banks of snow.
No.
This Lance Corporal who's shivering his ass off cold, got to launch this stupid jet at night. And I walk up, say, "Hey, I'm Captain Hancock." I said, "I'll be in the front seat tonight with the general in the back." I go,
Any
"How do you
idea
start this thing?" He goes, "You got to be shitting me, sir, right?" I go, "No, I'm not. I didn't know how to start it." Because I knew it was a whole different thing, with the ground cart and all that, and electrical.
One
and the
finger,
huffer.
2 finger, 3
1 finger, 2 finger, 3 fingers,
Yeah,
and
the
4
whole
on.
thing.
Oh my God. He gives me a quick brief. He thinks, "Are you guys stupid?" I know he's thinking, "You guys are stupid, right?" And I go, "I know." I jump in the front seat. There's got power in the jet, but there's the whole right side of the cockpit is blanked out. There's no lights. There's no lighting on the right side of the jet. I get my flashlight out, my little Navy issue
like
light.
for your transponder and your radio and all that stuff.
And everything that's supposed to be lettered or numbered, like placards, this is a Vietnam era TA4F.
Oh, it's all like
It's
shiny
obscure.
and worn off.
Nothing is, I can't read a damn thing. So if you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is.
Oh,
Nothing
shit.
is marked.
Oh shit.
This whole black side. So I go, what the hell? So he gives me the brief, and then the general walks around. He jumps in the back seat. Remember the canopy on the TA4J? So you got open,
Oh sure. Sure.
seat between the two guys. And
Clamshell lifted straight
yeah,
up.
Right.
yeah. So he goes, all right, let's start this damn thing. It's cold as shit. So, all right, yes, sir. So one finger, 2, 3, and we get this thing started somehow. Remember the 5% around the horn, hit the igniters, and
Yes.
put it to idle, and the engine starts by some miracle. We get everything disconnected, and he's
Generator
yelling
comes
at me.
online. Yeah.
But then we can't talk. He's yelling at me. I go, what the hell? So no ICS, no intercom between the two of us, the headsets. He's yelling, damn it, close the damn canopy. It's cold as shit. So remember the mousetrap?
Yep.
Yep.
raise
Yeah,
it
the
up,
trick
we'll
with
get
the
that
handle.
close.
Yeah.
I kept bringing it down, but then I couldn't get it. I had to finally figure out, oh yeah, man, you got to, jiggle the thing to get it to come past the mousetrap. So canopy
Right.
clear, get the canopy closed. We can't talk. And so he's yelling at me with through the open cockpit about shit. And the plane captain's trying to do this, check the flight controls and stuff. And I go, and the general calls for the clearance delivery. I hear that. I hear UHF just fine. The
Yeah, you
radio.
can't have no ICS.
No ICS. I go, what the hell? And he's yelling at me. I'm checking my comm cords and plugs and pigtails and all that. And I go, we're not going to take off, So we do taxi out though. He said, taxi the damn jet, get him to the run. We'll figure it out. We'll sort it out before we take off. I remember one point I had to power the jet, the nose tire, over a hump of snow, like a plowed
This is
over snow
this
to
is
get, and then the
bad.
main mounts over snow to get to the taxiway. This is crazy.
Right.
We taxied down the runway. And remember the TA4, there's no brakes, no parking brakes. You got to hold the brakes.
Right.
Right.
So I'm holding the brakes on this downhill slant. While the general, we're planning to play the radios and stuff. Finally, he says, "Oh man, let's just get airborne. We'll sort it out airborne." He yells at me. All right, so we take the active runway, we clear the takeoff, and we get airborne. I'm in the front seat going, okay, I'm just going to cop the power. At about 150 knots, I'm going to pull back on the stick. I'll get the gear up, and we'll go flying. So we get airborne, and at about 400 feet, we're in the goo. IMC, complete IMC.
Yeah.
I remember the TA4, I went from the heads up, I'm being a HUD cripple Harrier guy,
Right.
to a heads down airplane, all
It's
steam gauges.
It's an emergency procedure. at
Abba
that point.
jabba, where's
Yeah.
my VSI? Where's my airspeed? Shit, where's that? And the general's yelling at me. And I go, what? We level up at 4,000 feet. He goes, ice. We're picking up ice in. I look at the intake switch right there behind you. And you see all this like rime mixed icing. We're in icing conditions at 4,000 feet in Philadelphia. This is Philadelphia.
Right.
And he's, we got
Climb.
to turn. He goes,
Head
yeah,
south.
get the climbs. He's trying to get clearance to get us to climb ATC. But this is the Philadelphia,
Yeah,
high
you're not going
density.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. We're motoring at 4,000 feet, and he's yelling, turn the ice on, turn the ice on. I'm going yelling over my shoulder. Where's it at? He goes, by your right side, by your right side. I reach down and grab, it's dark, completely
Right.
black void. I grabbed the switch and I moved it forward and it dumped the cabin pressure. It was
Oh,
like ram
shit.
air,
Okay,
which is
wrong
not the big
switch.
deal, 4,000 feet, but
Yeah.
he goes, that's the wrong switch. I go, I know. Put it back.
I know that now.
So the next switch I grab, I grab another switch near it and I move it and my seat moves up and down. So I'm moving my seat adjust.
Oh dear God.
That's not it.
The general's yelling at me. I'm grabbing switches. I'm throwing switches blindly. We finally climb out of there. We get BMC on top. The icing goes away, thank God. And we motor down towards Atlantic City. He takes the jet, he goes, shakes the stick. You know
I got
that? "Well, I got
Yeah.
the jet.
I got
My
it.
hands
Yeah.
go up. You got the airplane. And he's yelling at me, fix your goddamn ICS. Okay, got it. So I've got my flashlight. I'm looking around. I go, what the hell? I can't. He shoots a tack-in approach to Atlantic City, which is the worst tack-in approach I've ever seen. And I'm trying to figure out which one is the tack-in needle, the 1 or number 2 needle. Remember that?
Oh yes.
The one
Yes.
needle was ADF and one was tack-in. Just 2 needles
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the HSI. I'm going, which one's a tack-in needle? ATC, we were so far off course, they're yelling at us. Viper, whatever it calls them was, go around, you get way off course. So we go around. He gives me the jet. And I've still got you guys?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, all right, Lawman, you shoot an approach. So yeah, I shoot. What's that? Hold on a second. Thing's talking to me.
You losing battery?
My computer's talking. You guys hearing that too?
Nope.
Man,
No.
it's just saying, no, something's talking to me there on the side.
Losing battery or anything?
I don't know. I might have moved something. Anyway, so he gives me the jet. I shoot the second worst tacking approach in the history of naval aviation.
Second
While
only to
ATC
his.
Oh
yelling at us.
my
maybe
gosh.
not as bad as his, but pretty bad. We get waved off. We go back to Willow Grove, heading back to Philadelphia. We're at altitude. Things are calm. He goes, God damn it, Lawman. I got the jet back fixed to god dang ICS. So I finally calmed down. I got time now. And I start playing around with knobs in front of me on the console above my right knee. And I find these two knobs. One is an out bigger knob. And that's, oh my God, that's radio volume. That's UHF radio volume. Loud, not so
Yeah.
loud. I get the inner knob.
Nice.
ICS check, loud and clear. Holy cow. It was the friggin' volume knob, which is completely obscured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
About the
we
knob
fly,
in front of you that left the damn volume all the way down.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
anyway, so we get back to Willow Grove and he's flying the jet. And I think, okay, we're going to do, he goes, hey, Lawman, let's just do one PER to a full stop. It's 200.5 snow, blowing snow. I go, that's great, sir. This is going to land this jet, get it over with. He goes, all right.
Good idea.
So about 10 miles out on final on a PAR approach, where they talk you down, of course, remember that?
Yep.
Controller talks you down, left and right, glide slope, calls. He goes, all right, Lawman, you got the jet. I go, I got the jet. I go, for what? He goes, for the approach and landing. I goes, I haven't landed an A4 for 6 years. So he goes, well, make this one a good one. He goes, he said, I can't land this jet in the backseat at night. That's why you're here. I go, you got to be shitting me.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I flew, put the gear down, flaps, never armed the spoilers. I didn't forgot about that because Harrier doesn't have spoilers.
No.
And I flew 150 all the way to touchdown. And thank God we stopped the jet and turned off the runway. We were done. But I got my ass chewed the next day by the full bird colonel, who's an active duty guy, who found out that Captain Hancock, who's not a qualified A4 guy, went night flying with the commanding general, who was not qualified either to be solo at night. That's why he needed a young qualified A4 guy to take him flying at night to
And
keep
you
him out of
weren't
trouble.
flying. So there was
And I was
not
at
not
Knucklehead.
one qualified A4 pilot in that airplane.
No, I mean, not at night. No, not.
Not at night.
It was, anyway, long story. That's my introduction to flying A4s in Willow Grove, but it was a good deal. Flew the mic, had a blast.
How
started
does this
parking-
segue into the Blue Angels?
Yeah,
is
well,
this
here's the deal.
going-
So we start parking the jets in the boneyard, and headquarters Marine Corps says, hey, change in plan, guys. You guys aren't getting F-18s. What? Everybody goes nuts. You're gonna park your jets in the boneyard and you're gonna roll the flag up. You're gonna go away.
Wow.
You guys are all gonna find other jobs. You go do whatever you want to do. And so I called the monitor, who's a major, fixed wing monitor. Hey, sir, Captain Hancock, hey, what about me? I said, I got a year and a half to do here after we park the jets. I go, you're going to send me someplace else to go fly airplanes? He laughs at me. He goes, no fucking way. He goes, you're going to spend the rest of your time on the group staff as a staff weenie, flying a desk at the group headquarters. And then, because all you've done so far in the Marine Corps is fly jets, your next set of orders is going to be duty not involving flying, a staff job.
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking at 4.5 years of not flying, based on what
Right.
this guy's telling me.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck? So I was pretty despondent about that. And one of my reserve pilots, who's the North guy, major guy, walked in one day and holds up the message board. Hey, Lawman, here's some F-18 orders. I go, what? He goes, the Blue Angels. I go, yeah, right. That's going to happen. I go, I laughed it off. He goes, hey, man, give it a shot. So these airline pilots, 2 or 3 of them, really kept kind of egging me on to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So out of desperation, I had seen the Blue Angels fly and I thought it was pretty cool. I never thought I'm ever going to have a shot at being a member of the Blue Angels as a
Right.
Harrier guy, this and that, whatever. Although T-Bar, Kevin Lawver, 542 WTI, had been a Blue Angel successfully.
Okay. Yeah.
And done a good job. Flew a good jet for 2 years. And so out of desperation, I called the Blue Angels, the applicant's office, who was a Marine at the time, solo pilot.
Who was that?
Thumper, Naval Academy
Thumper.
grad.
Oh yeah.
Thumper.
Yeah. Yes.
Boxing, Naval Academy boxing champ. Really,
that
really,
was Luke. That was Luke's one of Luke's buddies from the academy.
Yeah. In fact, Thumper went on to be got out of the Blues after the Blues and Marine Corps.
F-16 guy in
F-16 guy, Montana Guard, made general.
Yes.
Yeah, he did great. Yeah, but Thumper was a very big personality, just a great guy, funny, really outgoing guy. So I called Thumper. Hey, quietly, hey, can you send me an application? Yeah, Lawman, he knew me from the fleet, you know.
Yeah.
I get the application, I filled it out, had to have my commanding officer's endorsement. That's one thing I need. So I had to go to my skipper, who was a reserve guy, airline guy, Majors, ended up being the chief pilot in New York, and great guy, Axe endorses. I asked him, hey, sir, please keep this quiet. Don't tell anybody in the squadron I'm actually rushing the Blues. Just keep it between me and you, I see how that goes. All right, hey, Lawman, you got it. So, but I need a jet this next weekend to go rush, so I went to
Right,
Sanford,
right,
Florida.
right.
He gave me a jet and a credit card. It was a drill weekend, right? So I disappear on a Friday or Thursday, go to Sanford, Florida to meet the Blues. You got to rush. They got to meet you in person, right?
Right.
Got your application, all that bullshit.
I'm familiar with this, Lawman.
Oh, yeah,
I'm familiar
that,
with
yeah,
this
man,
whole thing.
Yeah. So I go down there and park my A4, and I go to reception that first, like Friday night at some club, right? Or some Blue Angel reception, And of course,
Right.
all the Navy guys from Cecil Field, all the Hornet guys with 2,000 hour, 1,000-hour Hornet patch, hours and Top Gun patches, and a bunch of Marine F-18 guys were there, and a couple other cats and dogs like me. And I remember, I'll never forget, I'm standing amongst all these applicants, all these fighter pilots, Hornet guys, with 3 or 4 of the Blue Angels, including Dino, who's a slot pilot, who was 6'4", big guy.
Right.
And somebody was buying beers, and somebody starts handing beers out. And some Navy pilot hands me a beer. Hey, here you go. I say, I appreciate that, but I don't drink beer. I'll go get myself a Diet Coke or something. And the guy out loud in front of the Blue Angels, and everybody goes, "Why, you don't drink beer? Well, goddamn it, the Blues ain't going to hire you because you at least got to be a social drinker." I go, well, I'm not going to drink a beer to be a Blue Angel. Sorry. I apologize. Don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm going to go get a Diet Coke or something.
Yeah.
So I go, that's strike one. They go, well, apparently you got to drink beer to be a Blue Angel. So, well, holy shit. And the Blues didn't say anything. The Blues, I learned this later on, there's no feedback, right? You know that, Fig.
Yeah.
They're just watching.
No.
They're just watching and observing. I have no idea if that's true or not. So I think, well, strike one. And then Dino, the 6'4" Blue Angel, walks. Hey, so he sees my patches. Hey, what are you flying? I said, I'm flying A4 Mikes at Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. He goes, A4 Mikes, Willow Grove. He goes, isn't that a reserve outfit? Oh, yes, it is, but I'm active duty. Now he's thinking like TAR, Navy contract guys with.
Yes.
I said, no, I'm not a contract guy. I'm a no kidding active duty. But no, you're not qualified. You're not a qualified applicant, Law. I hate to tell you this, buddy, but you got to be active duty to be a Blue Angel applicant. I go, I am active. He goes, no, you're not.
No,
so he
really,
walks away. I go, well, shit, that's strike two.
That's 2 strikes.
That's 2 strikes. The freaking, slot pilot thinks I'm not qualified to even be here. And then I hung around the rest of the weekend dejectedly. And then I got my little A4 mic and flew back on Sunday evening back to Willow Grove. And of course, all the airline guys are gone by then. They escaped, from drill weekend. But I parked my jet, go inside, do the paperwork. On the whiteboard in the ready room was a sign somebody put on whiteboard. Hey, Lawman, the Blue Angels called and said, next time, bring more beer. Oh, geez. That's strike 3.
Shit.
And then the monitor calls me probably the next day, Monday, and says, hey, Captain Hancock, I see you applied to the Blue Angels. I said, yes, sir. He goes, pull your application. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. You are not going to the Blues no matter what. You will fly that desk for another year and a half once you park those jets, and you took 3-year orders, and you're going to stay and Willow Grove for 3 orders. You got me, Captain Hancock. I said, so you can't make me pull my app, right? He goes, no, I can't make it. I'm telling you, strongly advise you to pull your app. You ain't going to the Blues. Click. So I go up, so I was going to quit, but these airline guys, I told them what happened afterwards. I go, oh man, just don't quit yet. Go to another show.
Yeah.
Try one more show. So I went to a show in Detroit, and there wasn't many Hornet guys hanging around. So I got a little more time, FaceTime with Dino and some other guys. And I said, hey, and I showed Dino my ID cards. And let me see your ID card. He pulls it out, and we compared ID cards. Because, reserve ID cards are a different color, right?
Right. So this is the same.
I go, exactly, Fig. I go, look at my ID card and yours. They're he goes, right, active duty. He goes, oh, man. He goes, okay, I apologize. He goes, so you are qualified to be here. So now I'm a qualified applicant. I did one more show at Cherry Point. And then they do the finalist selection, right? So I got lucky, got selected to be a finalist where they bring typically 3 guys per position that's open. So 3 Marines, the 1 Marine slot, and all these Navy guys down there. And then they interview you. And the hardest part of that is the 16v1 interview process. So all 16 officers interview you at one point. They bring you in, everybody shakes your hand, and they sit you down. And They put me in a chair at the very end of this long conference room table. And when I sat down, somebody, I think purposely, had lowered the chair as low as you
Right.
could go.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm like way down here, I'm looking at the table right above my eyes, and they're all looking at me. I go, I'm trying to find that damn lever, move the chair up, They go, are they fucking with me? And then they start rapid firing your questions, right? And anything goes. They can
Yeah.
ask you anything.
Sure.
And so I'm answering questions best of my ability, and and you're a little bit nervous, of course. But one of the Fat Albert guys, man, shot me in the face unexpectedly. A bird brother, a Marine.
Yeah. Come
I
on.
say, hey, Lawman, he goes, tell us a funny highway patrol story. So I'm thinking, funny highway. I'm thinking, I got 100 highway patrol stories because everybody's got stories,
Yeah.
But
Sure.
a funny one is different, right? It's not like, hey, tell us a story about the highway patrols. Tell us a funny one. I got 16 guys looking at me like, make us laugh, Lawman. I go, holy shit. So anyway, I won't bore you with that story right now, but I told a story, and thank God they did laugh. And you walk out and thinking you're a complete idiot. Like I was a complete moron in that interview.
Sure.
I go back to, we did the swimsuit competition, right? We call it the swimsuit competition. You go to the beach and you hang out and you water ski and you play volleyball and you cook hot dogs and hang out with the guys, horseshoes. But, they want to see you in a swimsuit to see, hey, are you fit? And you're working out, that kind of, we call it the swim. Well, I didn't know at the time, but they call it the swimsuit competition.
Sure.
Go back to Willow Grove, and then the team makes the decisions and they vote, right? And it has to be unanimous vote to get you on the team. They all debate back and forth, and why do you like this guy? Why do you like that? And I was competing with two other Marines. One, Snake, who was a tall, good-looking Hollywood kind of guy, Mr. F-18, 2,000 hours, Top Gun.
Sure.
I even told Snake down there in Pensacola, man, they're going to hire you. You're not going to. I'm just here as filler,
Yeah.
They're not going to hire me.
Yeah.
They're going to hire you, man. You're the guy. So I was convinced it was going to be Snake. Then there was another guy, a Prowler guy, actually, who was rare, but he was another. Sting Flying Cross recipient from Desert Storm. Prowler guy, really good looking guy too, sharp, looked good, talked good. So I go back to Willow Grove, and I had to take the Marines to the rifle range that Monday to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And so the Blue Angels call. The boss calls, hey, I speak to Captain Hancock, some Marine Lance Corporal. Hey, sir, he's at the rifle range. The rifle range? He's a pilot, right? Hey, sir, he's a pilot, but he's at the rifle range. He goes, yeah, rifle range? Holy shit. Well, tell him the Blues call. So click. I get back from the damn rifle range. I'm the safety officer, right? Range safety officer. And I got a sticker. Hey, the Blue Angels call. And they okay to call and tell me no thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for trying.
Yeah. So Tuesday, the phone rings. Hey, sir, it's the boss of the Blue Angels. I went over there, and his boss, Woolridge.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, Lawman, and hey, boss here. He goes, hey, I want to tell you, first of all, you did a great job as a finalist. Team really loved you. Good reputation. Really enjoyed meeting you. He goes, but really tough competition, as you know. It's really a tough selection process, and it's really difficult to make that final cut. He goes, but really enjoyed meeting you. You're a great guy. You're going to have a great career. You got a great resume. You're going to go on to do great things in the Marine Corps. So what are you going to do next in the Marine Corps? Oh, here we go. Well, I'm going to try to get a flying job, do this or that. And he goes, hey, the Admiral's calling me. I got to put you on hold. So he puts me on hold. Click, waiting. Oh my God. And the Marine's like, I didn't make it. They didn't pick me. And so I wait for a while, and he comes back. Hey, Lawman, sorry about that. That was the Admiral. He goes, anyway, I want to tell you again what a great job you did. And we want to wish you the very best, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, wait, the Admiral's calling again. So he puts me on hold a second time.
Oh my God.
Oh, geez. I'm just trying to be polite, waiting. He finally comes back on the phone. He goes, all right, Lawman, sorry about that. He goes, well, anyway, wish you the best of luck. He said, and one more thing. I go, what's that, sir? And I didn't know, but he was on speakerphone in his office, and all the other 15 officers on the team were there with him, and they all yelled at the same time, welcome aboard, asshole. And I thought, wait, what was that? I go, is this a joke?
What?
Now I'm thinking, this is a joke, right? He goes, no, Lawman, we picked you. I go, what the hell? He goes, we'll call you later. Click. So the best part about that story was I got a phone call soon afterwards in the monitor shop, headquarters of Marine Corps.
I was super happy with you.
That same major who told me pull my application, weeks earlier. Hey, you're not going to pick you. We're not going to send you. You're stuck.
Yeah.
And he goes, this is Major, Umpta Frats. He goes, well, God dang it. The miracle of all miracles, the Blue Angel somehow picked you. I got to send your ass F-18 training. He goes, when do you want to go? I said, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. That's right. Oh, that's
So,
an awesome story.
Yeah, anyway, I saw it really was just a sheer luck, right time, right place. Who knows why they pick you? I got lucky.
That's awesome, dude.
And I
What a great story.
Yeah, man. So,
That is cool.
but
Well, do you have a minute or two to talk to us about flying with the Blues?
yeah, certainly. So
Yeah,
real quick,
yeah.
so I get sent to Cecil Field, right? VFA 106, the Gladiators, was at Cecil, Florida at the time. Now they're up, of course, in Virginia Beach.
That was a rag.
And,
That was a rag, right?
That was the rag,
squadron?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I got, man, like, and I'm an ASAP. I mean, the Blues have priority for a lot of stuff, and you get treated pretty well. So I show up Pensacola. They send me to Cecil Field with the Navy guy who's also not a Hornet guy. He's a A6E pilot, LSO type, really good guy, Daddy. And so Daddy and I show up, and we made a pact. Hey, VFA 106 is a huge rag, Marines and Navy, IPs and students. I said, just don't tell anybody. Don't wear any Blue Angels, because the Blue Angels gave us all kinds of Blue Angel patches and shit and all kinds of shit, jackets and stuff. Hey, we're going to wear green. Of course, we're wearing green suits. We're going to go incognito. We're just two knucklehead Navy Marine guys coming through some kind of modified flight syllabus, to go in. Nobody knows who we are. Don't even mention the Blue Angels. That was our goal.
Yeah.
Of course, some of the instructors had rushed against us, so they some guys knew who we were, So day one, we're at AOM. It's like, 60, 70, 80 guys in this ready room, and the OPSO stands up. Mo, I think was his call sign. He's going through all the standard bullshit. And then he goes, all right. He goes, where are the Blues Brothers at?
Oh, shit.
And I go, oh my God, no. And Danny, I look at each other. He goes, oh, and they're somewhere. You guys are here. We're wearing khakis and, Charlie's day one,
Yeah.
God damn it. The Blues Brothers are here somewhere. Stand up, you knuckleheads. And we wouldn't stand up. He goes, God damn it, Lieutenant, hey, Daddy and Lawman, stand up. Shit. So we stand up. Everybody's looking at us. He goes, these two guys with the newest Blue Angel pilot selections, they're here to fly. They're not Hornet guys. So we're going to give them about 20 some hours in a Hornet. So treat them nicely. Be nice to them. And good luck. And everybody's look. Now, some guys, I got told by a good friend of mine who worked in ops, schedule writer. He goes, hey, Lawman. He goes, I got to warn you, man. He goes, some guys are gunning for you here. Wonder how the hell a Harrier guy flying the A4 got picked to be the Blues. So just so you know, I got guys lined up. We had to do, part of the syllabus was 6 basic fighter maneuver sorties, dogfighting, 1v1.
BFMs, yeah.
BFM. He goes, I got guys, everybody who's a qualified ACM instructor is lined up saying, put me up against Lawman. I'm gonna see what he's got. He goes, man, so the gauntlet's thrown, man. Here we go. I'm going, hey, yeah, here we go. So I got through that. And if you could fly the Harrier well and the A4 well, and I was both a Harrier ACTI air combat tactics instructor and an A4 mic. The very last A4 mic, ACTI, myself and another guy. You
probably did okay.
Geometry, because now you have a handicapped jet, and you used to flying to, Harrier could do some magical stuff, but it's not a Hornet or a Viper.
Right.
And so you're always working really hard in a Harrier to get the best you can out of that jet. So you take that, and put it in a Hornet, this magic airplane, you can do pretty well, So
Nice.
I didn't embarrass myself, thankfully. And one thing I did stupid at the RAG was they had all weather intercepts, You had to,
You had to do that?
Yes. And I had, 0 radar time, right? Because the AVB I flew was cold nose day attacks.
You, all three of us, my friend.
Now I'm like, what the hell, man? I got to fly the radar. Oh shit. So they gave me some ground school. Then they put me in this simulator trainer, partial task trainer, with some retired Navy guy and a coat and tie. And he goes, and he does his homework. He goes, hey, so what are you here for? What kind of syllabus? I said, I'm on a Cat 4 modified. He goes, what does that mean? I go, well, I'm going to get about 25 hours in the jet and then go fly with the Navy squadron. He goes, well, what kind of Navy? You going to China Lake or what? I go, no, I'm going. He goes, what are you going to do? Boy, he goes, okay, I'm going to go to the Blue Angels. I go, Blue Angels? He goes, you're going to use a damn radar on the Blue Angels? This is a waste of time. I go, I think so too, but I'm here. I'm supposed to have like 4 of these intercept training sorties, 2 hours each in this box. He goes, we're wasting time. He goes, if you're up for it, I'll show you how to use the radar, turn it on, show you some shit in the HUD and the radar. And then I'll sign you off if you want, and you'll be done. You go fly the jet. They go, sign me off, brother. So he showed me a few basic things. And then the next night, ops, all they see is that, hey, Captain Hancock is sim complete. Put him on the schedule. So I get put on the night schedule for an actual all-weather intercept sortie at night.
Oh, geez.
With an instructor. I'm in a single seat. Instructor is going to be the pig in the middle with a Navy lieutenant as the other student. We're going to swap out, right?
No.
So go through this really detailed brief, and he's grilling this other student, the real student, on the Sparrow, Sidewinder parameters and radar intercept geometry and the calls. And I'm like, I'm just taking notes, man. This student's talking. I'm writing down notes on my kneeboard card.
Right.
And he said, I'm going to put you on the far end, Lawman, feet wet. I'll be in the middle, and the student will be near the shore, and we'll swap out. So we take off. I go 100 miles off the coast in the whiskey area, and then the student goes first, and I'm literally taking notes of what the student is saying and doing. I'm going to mimic that best I can. And the shooting, it's supposed to be a forward a BVR shot, sparrow shot to a stern conversion, Fox 2 sidewinder kill stern, right?
All on radar.
All on radar, yeah.
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we didn't fight at night in the Harrier, right?
No.
Never did that shit.
Hell, we bombed under flares at night, and that was an
Yeah.
emergency.
So I'm out there like, oh my God, I'm going to get it down on this sortie. And so student does a really good job. And hey, Lawman, you ready? Yeah, Lawman's ready in the east. IP's ready in the middle, and fights on tape. So we turn in, and this is nighttime along the Florida coastline, and there's all kinds of traffic out there. It's not just the three of us. My radar is picking up all kinds of targets. I lock the guy up, and you're supposed to do a BRAT call, bearing range, altitude, target aspect. Lawman's got a target, and I call out he goes, "That's not your target." He goes, "Damn it!" Unlock that guy and grab another guy. In the meantime, we're motoring each other
from LaGuardia to West Palm.
Yeah. It's probably you or somebody else out there, a United guy or an American guy or FedEx or somebody. I locked on to 3-4 different targets, and it wasn't my target. In the meantime, we're closing the gap. I'm like, shit. So I go, man, I'm going to play the Harrier game. I'm going to go to the bottom of my block. We're in blocks, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to offset 30 degrees right, go bottom of my block and look for an anti-call light about where this guy should be. And sure as shit, I see an anti-call light. I point bore sight him, get a radar lock, and call it a short range Fox 1, of the spare, which I've never done before in my life, And then I visually pull to a 6, get a tone on the sidewinder. Fox 2 kill, F-18, 15,000, Angels 15, heading east. That's a kill. Good job, Lawman. We did 2 or 3 of those, and then we knock it off, go back and debrief. And he pulled the student's tape, looked at every second of it. Thank God he didn't pull my tape. He just seen this complete bullshit. I was fumbling my way through that, bullshitting my way through it, doing Harrier offset tactics, just to visually point at a guy and shoot him. Anyway, so I get to the Hornet Rag, and I get to the Blues as a qualified Hornet guy, about 25 hours in the jet. And we're getting ready to go to an air show I get there on a Wednesday. Thursday, they're going to transit to El Paso, Texas for an air show. The current team, which is a very end of season, really tight. They got their shit together,
Yeah.
And we're going to bird dog them. We're going to do right seat, just watch these guys, watch and learn. So the OPSO thumper says, "Hey, Lawman," he points to a jet on the flight line. He goes, "See that that blue jet out there with no number on it?" He goes, "Take that jet to El Paso tomorrow through Abilene, Texas, Dyess Air Force Base. That's our spare jet. Now we got, spare pilots. We got spare single seat jets instead of the 2-seat number 7 jet. It's a good deal for them." He goes, "Land in Dyess 30 minutes prior to the team, not 31 minutes, not 29 minutes, and land in front of the team 30 minutes at El Paso. You got it?" I said, "Yes." I go, "What about how you guys launch?" He goes, "I don't have time for this shit. Go talk to a crew chief. Get that jet to El Paso." And you know what his final words were me?
No.
Guess what? Don't fuck it up.
up.
There you go. Yeah. Don't fuck it up.
I saw that coming.
Yeah. So I go down and talk to a crew chief, because the Blue Angels do a very choreographed launch.
Right.
Even for single.
Every time. It's the
every
same
time.
way every time.
Yep. The smoke and all that is very different than a fleet Hornet launch. I go, so plane captain, crew chief talks me through it. And so I'm nervous as shit. I get to smart pack the team had put together for me. It was no wind smart pack for fuel and time and distance to Dyess and then to El Paso. I've got that. Found my flight plan, Blue Angel, Frats. And I walk, and as a newbie, you can't wear the flight suit, which are tailor-made by a shop in Pensacola called Feminine Flares, a ladies' bikini shop.
Nice.
But the guy there had the contract, Sam, and you went to this ladies' bikini shop, swimwear shop, to get fitted and
Yes.
Blue Angel flight suits. It was bizarre, but you can't wear them except for 10 minutes prior to walking to a jet as a newbie pilot, part of the harassment package.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing my Charlies. 10 minutes prior to I need to walk to my jet, I go downstairs to the locker room where I put my flight suit hours earlier and all my stuff, ready to go fly. And I'm on the clock, right?
Yeah.
I got to be there 30 minutes prior to the team. And I started putting my flight suit on. I can't get my flight suit on because some other Blue Angel asshole pilot has stapled all the legs and arms together with hundreds of staples. The arms and legs are stapled together. You can't get your arm or legs through this flight suit. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm pulling staples like a mother.
Yeah.
I finally get this flight suit on, boots, grab my bag, walk toward the jet. I was pulling staples out all the way to El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
Pulling them out. I couldn't get them all out.
Oh my
These things are
gosh.
sticking to me all over the place. I get to the jet. I'm determined to fly the spring because I heard about the spring, 30 plus pounds of force on the stick the Blues fly with. So I had to spring in there, and I taxi out somehow miraculously, and I take off. First time in a Blue Jet, solo, cross country to Dias with a team 30 minutes behind me. And I flew that spring for about 20 minutes. I go, you got to be shitting me. These guys fly in air show. I go, oh my God, how do they pull G's?
So just so there may be some non-aviators listening. So this spring you're talking about, it's like a bungee cord that has what, like 30 or 40 pounds worth of pressure?
They can adjust it, but about midway through at least winter training, it's up to the final four holes they can adjust the tension on. But basically, if I recall right, it was 4 mechanical springs. It was like an old exercise, one of those bungees you exercise for chest, pull.
Yes.
Tension, and they would take the electronic countermeasures panel out of the in between, but in forward of the stick, console, and they would attach this mechanical device that some engineer at Pax River came up with, because they found out that the fly-by-wire flight controls in the F-18 didn't work well enough. You would lose some backstick authority on the backside of a loop in some cases, so the fly-by-wire logic with the full nose down trim, they called it FND. Every other Blue Angel airplane in the history of the team, they flew FND, full nose down trim. Take the cooler cap, run the trim all the way to a stop.
Wow.
Phantoms, A4s, F11s, we name it. And that gave you an artificial force. So you can hold still. And the whole purpose is fighter airplanes, even go back to World War II fighters, are highly maneuverable, very sensitive. And you want them to be a highly maneuverable jet in a fighter combat environment. You don't want to be ultra sensitive when you're flying 2-3 feet and sometimes closer, rolling a loop in close proximity to the jets. The jet's too sensitive. The stick's too sensitive. You breathe on it, it moves the jet, it moves you. You're out of position or you're hitting each other. So you want this force that I'm either holding what I got with a lot of force, or I'm going to relax just a little bit in pitch, or I can pull just a little. You could really finesse it with 30 pounds of force on a stick. It does work. It allows you to fly very close to other jets and control the jet primarily in pitch. You are really hold what you got without, or relax a little bit or pull a little more. It really does work, but it's a bear to get used to.
Okay.
And
could you take the tension off?
No, you couldn't take it off. You could actually trim more into it. They had Blue Angel software that was different for the Blue Angel jets, Blue software, they basically called it. You could run more trim down. Some guys, the bigger guys, I never really did that, to be honest with you. I was really struggling with what I had. But a couple of guys like Snooze, my number 3 left wing, my first year big guy. These guys were all, my first year, the next smallest guy was 6'2" and 215.
Oh my!
Then there was Lawman, 5'8", 145 pounds.
Yeah, you and I were the same size at the same time.
I mean, for the big guys, they struggled.
Right.
There was a Phantom pilot, famous Burner, who was famous, and I actually met him in last year at Pensacola Air Show and asked him about the legend of what he did. He was struggling in the Phantom, which is a big manly jet, to stay in formation. The 1 hour, sometimes 1+ training sorties twice a day, winter training, 6 days a week, twice a day. I mean, it's painful physically, and he couldn't do it. His hand and arm would give out. He couldn't complete a training sortie. He says, "Hey, Burner, you've got to finish a sortie. We got to cut you loose, brother, and bring somebody else back. Because you can't not finish the training sortie with us. You got to do the whole thing."
Yeah.
So out of desperation, he secretly had his crew chief bring ordnance tape, and he taped his hand to the stick with ordnance tape.
Wow.
Now, if he had to eject,
which
happened in the Phantom, especially, they lost a lot of airplanes, he was going to lose that arm.
Yeah.
But Burner was willing to give up his right arm to be successful with the Blue Angels. That's how desperate guys could be.
I'd
it was
give my
painful.
right arm to be a Blue. Wow.
Yeah, man, exactly, yeah. So I flew that thing for a while, and I go, holy cow, it was worse than I thought. And I was pretty fit, I was a strong, fairly healthy Marine.
Sure.
So I took the spring off, and just flew like a regular F-18, fleet F-18 on my way to Dias, right? So the plan they gave me was a no-win plan. Well, I got wind in the face. So I'm looking at fuel and doing my calculations. I don't want to screw this up, my first cross country in a blue jet. And the winds at Dias, talking to Meteor on the way, was 90 degrees off this long, 12,000 foot Air Force runway, but 90 degrees off from the north at 30, gusting to 35 knots. Well, you got to be kidding me. The F-18 crosswind limit is 30 knots. I go, come on, God, give me a break. My first landing in a blue jet, I'm at the limits or maybe exceeding the limits of the crosswind. I go, come on. So I think, man, if the winds don't, and my fuel was right about maybe 2.0, and the overhead SOP for the Blue Angels was be overhead the airfield at 2,000 pounds of gas. I'm thinking I might barely get there with 2,000 pounds plus the winds. I go, I got to have plan B. So I'm starting looking at, pulling on my charts and thinking, hey, what's a decent alternate I can divert to short of Dias Air Force Base? So I called Micho, find a place. I can't recall what it was. It was north, and I formulate my plan. I got a gold note to at some point. I said, okay, if I get to this TACAN fix and I don't have this much gas, or the winds aren't kind of close to 30 knots, I'm diverting north to whatever. And so I thought I had a great plan, right? It makes sense as a fleet guy, right?
Sure.
And so if you're a fleet guy and you're 30 minutes ahead of your squadron mates, and you got this essay maybe they don't have on winds and weather and fuel, what are you going to do? You're going to call back so I call boss. I knew they're freaks. I get on the 6-plane Delta Blue Angel Delta formation freak common. Boss, Lawman. And there's a pause. Yeah, this is boss Lawman, go ahead. And I went on, blah, 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 about the winds and the weather and crosswind and bingo fuel and alternate and all this. And I think I'm being a hero.
Right.
Telling the boss, all this, I've already got suitcase, passing on to him all this global essay. He says, hey, thanks, Lawman, great job, appreciate that. There's a long pause at the end of my little tirade. And then Dino, the 6'4", very imposing slot pilot, comes on the radio, goes, Lawman, get the fuck off this frequency and never talk to the boss again. I go, oops. I didn't even mic click that. I didn't like click.
Click. No.
I didn't even say copy, Roger, nothing. I just like, shit. He was serious. He was pissed.
Yeah.
Go, what the fuck?
That's a show title there. Never talk to the boss again.
So thankfully I landed Dias. I continue. I get that, go, no-go point. I go, shit, I'm pressing, man. I'm going to roll the dice. I get the Dias. And remember the Harrier, if you flew in the Harrier, remember if you flew a rolling type landing, you would crab into the winds, wings level, crab approach, and then kick out half the crab in close, right? Remember that technique?
Yep.
Believe it or not, the F-18 NATOPS, identical. I didn't know that because Harrier A4 Mike was wing down top rudder.
Right.
Yeah.
The Hornet was a wings level, crab approach, kick out half the crab angle in close. I go, shit, I've done this in Harriers. I'm going to try this in Hornet. Of course, in the Harrier, you may be doing 60 knot rolling vertical landing. Now I'm doing 135 knots in a Hornet.
Right.
Facing, landing this way, facing, 40 degrees up this way. This just looks weird.
It looks loud. It looks bad.
I'm looking out the side window to the runway going, this doesn't look right. But I go, I'm going to roll the dice. NATOPS manual says this. I've never done it, but here we go. So right in close, I kick about half the crab angle out. And that F-18, man, what a beautiful jet. Not like the Harrier where you're going down the runway, crowning with the outriggers.
Tipping up on one wing tip and everything.
Down, trying to go to power nozzle braking and not screwing things up. And, shitty brakes, no drag chute, no tail hook, right? And the Harrier on a fast landing. The Hornet, man, this thing, the monster landing gear. It lands beautifully. It tracks straight down the runway like no big deal. Got great brakes. I go, that was not an event. Shit, that was nothing. I taxi clear and I run in the base office and goes, fuel my jet and get me the hell out of here. Of course, they got this. They think I'm a Blue Angel. I'm not really a Blue Angel. I'm wearing a blue suit. I'm flying a blue jet, but
I'm not one.
I'm a knucklehead new guy, man. Just get me gas and get me out of here
before they see me.
Yeah.
So sure shit, the Blues land behind me. And I thank God I was out of there quick. I landed 30 minutes prior to I made the timeline. I got the hell out of there. And I flew to El Paso. And thank God I didn't dick it up. I get to El Paso and deliver the jet. Then I got changed back into my Charlies.
Right.
Team lands, we go to the debrief. They got to debrief the transit, right?
Sure.
And I'm waiting there, like as quiet as a mouse on the sidelines. And they go around the table, and it gets to Dino. And Dino, number 4, goes, right, Lawman. He goes, God damn it. You know why you can't talk to the boss? I said, no, sir. He goes, I didn't know this. He goes, the Blue Angels, even on a cross country, even when they get there out, they take the springs off and they fly like the fleet, but they go to fleet parade, nice loose formation. They can relax. They're not flying with 30 pounds all the way across the country.
Yeah.
They come off the spring, but the boss still talks as if he's flying a maneuver, which means he comes 1 degree left or 2 degrees right. He's saying, coming left 1 degree, coming right 2 degrees, and nobody moves their jets until the boss keys the mic and says what he's doing. He can't climb or descend 20 feet, 100 feet. He can't, if ATC, hey, Blue Angel 1, descend, maintain flight level 320. He can't move the jet until he keys the mic and says, ease and power, a little drive. And then all 6 jets move based on his words, letters, cadence.
Right.
They don't just fly like fleet parade. Boss does what he wants to do. And we all just kind of follow him,
Yeah.
None of that. They don't move the jet. Boss doesn't crack a throttle, move the jet without talking. He goes, so all 6 jets are suspended in space while you're yapping on about fuel and we can't turn 1 fucking degree left or right.
Don't talk to the boss.
I go, oh, I got it now.
Never
So-
talk to the boss again.
So they said, now, Lawman, put your damn flight suit back on. You're going to be in my back seat for this practice show. Oh, man, cool. I get to finally fly in a Blue Angel jet in a show, man. This is what I signed
So
up
you're,
for.
you're
Right?
flying with Dino in the slot?
I'm in Dino in the slot.
All
This
right.
is a very accomplished, experienced end of season team. They're tight.
Yeah.
These guys got their shit together.
Yeah.
I jump in Dino's back seat and we get on the runway and we do the burner takeoff or the afterburner loop on takeoff. And as soon as 2 and 3 and 4 and boss are airborne, Dino's sliding underneath the number 2 jet. And I could have literally reached up, guy named Fudge who's flying that jet.
Yeah, Fudge Packer.
last-
yeah.
Yeah, last name Packer.
Yeah.
Great guy,
Yeah.
Navy pilot, Alaskan
Yeah.
Airlines captain. Fudge is flying number 2, and I could have literally have touched his jet without a canopy, sliding there. And I'm going, oh my God, into the slot. And the boss's afterburners are, right behind us, kind of like loud as shit. And up we go. And they were in a tight diamond 3-foot set, maybe tighter. Up over the top, down to maybe 150 foot, 200 foot AGL bottom. I'm watching all this metal in my face. I got wing tips in my face. Boss's jet is right there. I'm looking at, Fudge's and number 3 Snooze, left wing, their faces in total concentration. They're flying paint. All they're looking at is boss.
Yeah.
And boss is talking, this sing song, rhythmic, walk in the park, everything's cool, thing they do, how they talk and fly. And my first thoughts on the backside of that loop, pointing vertical nose down and diamond set, looking at the runway, thinking, we're going to hit the friggin' ground.
Yeah. There's
That's
no
my
way we're going to
perspective.
pull out of this.
I go,
right?
we're going to hit the ground. I go, holy shit.
All this so I could die?
I knew where the seat adjust was, and I lowered the seat to get away from the wingtips who were right there on top of my canopy, because the F-18 is a living wing and it's flexing.
Yeah.
And I go, and my first thoughts weren't, I'm not kidding, oh, this is cool as shit, man. I'm going to be a Blue Angel pilot. This is going to be the greatest things ever. My first thought was, oh my God, they picked the wrong guy.
Right.
These guys are crazy. I go, this is insane. I go, I'm thinking, after we land, how do I just respectfully and quietly DOR, like drop on request?
Right.
Like, hey guys, thanks for the ride.
Yeah.
It's been great
I'm
meeting you,
out.
but
I'm
I'm
out.
out of here. Go back and get Snake. It's not too late. Bring Snake back over here. I go, holy shit, what have I got? And then I got a solo ride the next day with Thumper and a 2-seat number 5. And that thing, getting no G suit. Nobody's wearing a G suit.
Right.
And the Diamond guys pull G's too, especially on the rendezvous. But you're pulling 7.5 G's, limiter to pull, limiter to pull, limiter to pull, limiter to pull, rapid onset rate, negative G, eyeball out kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Completely lost, clueless to clown. What are we doing? Trying to
That's
stay
right, yeah,
awake.
you do long inverted.
Oh, man, well,
down
and
the runway.
And then Thumper Lee Solo does the min radius turn, which is like about 23 seconds at 7.5 G's. If you are not straining properly with no G suit, you will be
You
out
take a nap.
cold.
Yeah.
You're gonna take a nap, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to flying the Blue Angels, was as a newbie, just watching them and going, holy shit, hang on.
Boy,
And then I can tell you about day one if you want. You got time here? About my
Yeah.
first actual day as a Blue Angel number
Yeah,
two.
no,
Yeah.
loving
So
this.
the team has a position meeting, and as a newbie, you're not a part of that team meeting. So Daddy and I are outside. They have a position meeting. They look at your background, whatever else they kind of factor into, and they go, okay, we need a number two pilot this year, and we need a narrator. So, and traditionally, the Marine has been over the years had been the right wingman. It's a 2-year position, which is good for the Marines because you don't want Marines to have a 3-year tour because typically only one Marine gets to be on the team. So now you're waiting every 3 years to give another guy a chance. So
Yeah.
typically
Okay.
2-year tour is the right way to go. And the Navy really covers the slot position, number 4. So traditionally the 3, not always, but we've had Marine 3-4s, even recently. Traditionally, during my time, the 3 was Navy slot because the next year 3 goes to 4. And the slot pilot's a very, very important position on the team. Safety pilot really runs the diamond and the delta, and there's a safety check for the boss, and you really backs up the boss and trains the boss quite a bit, especially a first year boss. So I was expecting to be number 2 at that point, and I was given number 2, which is a pretty good deal because you're right to a flying slot, right? I'm not narrating. Daddy got to be the narrator. So he'll narrate for a year, fly the number 7 jet, do all the VIP media rides and all that, and then he'll fly. So I go right to number 2. Hey, Lawman, you give me number 2. So I start bird dogging number 2, and I get a backseat ride with Fudge to see from his perspective what he's doing. And now I'm talking to Fudge a lot because at the end of the season, on Saturday air show in Pensacola, the next day, Sunday, if you're an old guy, you're gone. Your parking spot, your name is ripped off the chain link fence.
I heard that once. Yeah, you
Yeah,
walk
man.
out and you back out of your spot and your name comes down. You're done.
Oh yeah, man. You clean your desk out on Sunday. Get your shit out of here.
You're done.
You're an ex-Blue Angel. You're done. No kidding. And then
Yeah.
Monday,
I mean, it's once a blue, always a blue, right?
yeah,
But
man,
you
yeah,
are
and
not
you're
on
always
the team
welcome,
anymore.
but you're off the team, man. Go away.
Yeah.
Pack your shit and go. So
Yeah.
Monday morning, we start training for the 1994 season. I mean, the last air show for 93 was Saturday. Sunday's a day off. Monday morning, we're doing 2-a-days. So I show up on my very first day. Now I'm allowed to wear the suit. So I actually can walk into the squadron with the Blue Angel flight suit, no staples in it,
Well, that
nobody's
was nice of
harassing.
'em.
Yeah. I'm not
Did you
pulling
leave the
staples.
house? Hey, did you leave the house with it on, or did you put it on when you got there?
No, you leave the house. You put it on and drive to work that way. That's the
Okay.
way most.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the way,
just like wearing your bag.
Yeah. Same thing. Put your bag on when you typically leave house and go drive to work, right? Show up at the squadron and go fly and work.
Now, is that Nomex? Is that made out of Nomex?
It was Nomex, yeah, but they cut it from the same bolt to cloth. So each year, each pilot gets 4 brand new flight suits cut from the same exact bolt to cloth. So the exact same hue. The attention to detail in the Blue Angels, even that is unbelievable. The attention to detail, the
Wow.
striving for perfection, everything they do. Then you use your last year's suits if you're an old guy for practice shows, and you only wear that flight suit once. You never wear the same flight suit 2 days in a row, never. And they're all dry cleaned.
Okay.
It's all taken care of, man. They really take care of business. So I show up day 1, Monday morning, in the ready room, and it's a diamond brief because we're going to initially train 1 and 2, 3 and 4 fly together, 5 and 6, and then we'll put the diamond together, and then we'll put the delta together, and then we'll transit Del Central, and then we'll do 2-a-days. So initially, but it's a diamond brief, and Dino's running the brief essentially. He goes, all right, Lawman. He goes, welcome to the team. He goes, you asked for this job, you got it. We picked you, but now you got to perform. And so the very first thing they show me was archives of Blue Angels crashing, all different types of airplanes. They had every practice show, and every show has been videotaped
Sure.
Yes.
or filmed over the years, over decades.
Yes.
I saw A4s, F11s, Phantoms, Hornet mishaps. They showed me a lot of it for a reason, I think, and it made sense. This is what you make a big mistake with the Blue Angels. It can be catastrophic, especially with the ground or hitting each other.
Yeah.
Here are some of the things that guys have done, and not disparaging former Blue Angels or those who were killed even, but
Learn from
here's
their
what
mistakes.
happens when you have a bad day with the balloons. You really have to be completely focused, tremendous concentration, and really be open to learning and critique and criticism, and being honest with the debriefs and your mistakes, and then chipping away and just getting better and better. But a major mistake in the Blue Angels can be fatal. In fact, at that time, up through when the Marine captain was killed in Smyrna, Tennessee, it's about a 10% fatality rate historically on the Blue Angels. So historically, since 1946, about 1 out of 10. have been killed. And about half of those have been solo pilots,
That's
other
pretty
half
high.
diamond.
That's
So
high.
really, much worse, I think, if I got my numbers right, more fatal solo pilots than diamond guys, but about a 10%. So it's unforgiving. And if they might love you, but if you don't hack it, they'll love you. They'll try to make you successful, of course, but you'll fire you. And that's happened before too. I knew
Right.
that happened to other guys. So my first morning wasn't about motivational stuff. It was mishap videos. This is what can happen to you if you don't have your shit together procedurally, and they're very strict about your procedures. And the last Marine, number 2, they showed me his crash video with boss. I won't say the last name, but it was a boss of one of the admiral. He hit the boss on the fan brake about the 3rd week of winter training in El Centro, California.
Ooh.
And that's a tight maneuver, very tight. And number 2 sets it. And all you're flying on the fan brake is there's a cigarette stripe. There's a yellow stripe. If you look really closely at the leading edge extension on boss's right side of his airplane, on the blue paint, you'll see a yellow stripe about the size of a cigarette. And we call it the cigarette stripe. And as number 2, boss will be in his angle of bank for the fan, and you step up and you put that cigarette stripe in the crotch of his canopy bowl and canopy rail, and you hold that stripe, and then you step up and look at 1 inch to 1.5 inches of black canopy rail inside a boss's jet. So you put that cigarette stripe in the crotch of the canopy and about 1 inch of black canopy rail, and then you hold still and say, hey, Lawman. At that point, bosses, they call Hammond. I learned that for the first time when I learned the fan brake, and they go, what's Hammond? Hammond means he ain't moving nothing. So once Hammond, boss is Hammond, which means if he's Hammond, you should be Hammond. So that 3 and 4 can fly off of you in echelon, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they would say, it's that simple, Law Man. Just put the cigarette stripe there and hold still, goddammit, and don't move. So 3 and 4 can fly off of you. They're flying helmets,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're cracking the whip if there's any.
Oh,
movement,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So they showed me this video of this previous Marine, who's a great guy, former Phantom Hornet guy, who was having a bad day, and he 3 and 4 could see it coming. Chase calls clear. You got to call clear. So if you're an echelon, you just don't bail out, save yourself, move your jet to get away from boss's jet or some other jet. You have to call clear, smoke off, and then you wait. If you're in Delta or Diamond or Echelon, anybody on your wing, and you had to give them a chance to get their own piece of airspace. Everybody has a piece of airspace, no matter what we're doing, any maneuver that you own, and nobody else is vying for your piece of sky as you're still flying off of the boss. Boss is still your gyro. So Chase is clear. He's got to wait. He's supposed to wait for 4 to clear, 3 to clear. Then you move your jet. And if you have to, you eat some paint. They encourage you, hey, if you have to wait, eat some paint. So
now, just for listeners, when they say you guys swap paint, you bump each other.
Yeah, we did. I swapped. You try and avoid it. I did. I swapped paint twice. I kissed my boss twice my first year. Swap paint. There's different stories in that, but so Chase, number 2, is boss is his job is, once he's in a maneuver, is fly the maneuver, be predictable for everybody else,
right?
No matter what's happening. And boss is doing a great job. It's like walking through the park. He's getting hit by the number 2 jet. So number 2 comes out with wings. We call it wings. He's using aileron instinctively to get away from the boss's jet, because you want to get away on the right side. So he puts some aileron in, which you would normally want to do to get away from the guy on your left side. But if you do that, your wing overlap is so great, you're going to hit him every time. So his left wingtip is hitting boss's right horizontal stabulator. And boss, if I get this right, boss's jet, he's holding still. So he's holding the number 2 jet in place. And when the number 2 jet starts to roll over the top of boss's jet with right stick and right rudder by the pilot in the 2 jet, and he sees the top of boss's jet, he pulls the handle and ejects. So he ejects. The airplane immediately, because the spring will pull up to almost negative 2 Gs. You let go of that stick, that spring force pulls the jet. It doesn't seek 1 G like a normal gray F-18 in the fleet. It'll almost negative 2 Gs. So the jet immediately clears the boss's jet and flies in the ground. Huge fireball. You hear the seat beacon going off. Knock it off, boss, knock it off. 3 knock it off, 4 knock it off. Because number 2 is in a parachute. He can't call knock it off. And he lands, and they pick him up, and he's not hurt, thankfully. Probably a little beat up, and they dust him off and brush him off, and they do a debrief and all that, and they paint his name on a new number 2 jet. All right, don't do that again.
Wow.
I tell you what, if that had happened to me, my third week of winter training, I don't think I could have been successful either. And this guy, I think, I'm not disparaging him at all.
Yeah.
Haven't been there and struggled
That'll get your
myself.
attention, I would think, at a minimum.
Yeah,
that would suck.
some self-doubt or just, you start to flinch a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you flinch in the Blue Angel, especially as a diamond pilot, you're allowed to flinch once or twice, maybe, where you flinch in the other jets without being predictable and making the proper clear and giving other guys a chance to get away from your jet. If you do that more than twice, maybe even, a big flinch once, you're done. I can't trust you anymore, or they can't trust me, and
Yeah,
you got to
sure.
go away.
Yeah.
And they love you, but it makes sense, right? A lot of trust. So they cut him loose and brought back a Navy pilot to fly that jet for the rest of the year. And so the point being is that I'm the first Marine back in the Diamond now, because Thumper went 765, narrator, a Polson solo, lead solo. And Thumper was a maniac, man. He was I think he broke a lot of jets, put it that way. He broke a lot of blue jets with G's and hitting runway lights and stuff. Thumper was even for Blue Angel, Thumper was super aggressive. But he was a great solo pilot, but he was a solo pilot, 765. Then they hired me. So I'm the first Marine back in the Diamond. And they go, and it was kind of that Navy Marine Corps, good nature, but somewhat, not so good natured all the time. I love those guys.
You squids.
Yeah. Hey, okay, Lawman, here's the thing with it. So day one, they go, let's see if you have what it takes. If you had the balls to be a diamond pilot, because the last Marine couldn't hack it. That's what
shit. They threw the gauntlet, right?
Yeah, they did. All right, Lawman, let's see if you have what it takes. So I go, man, I'll go, here we go. Shit, this is a great start. And then Dino's drinking a cup of coffee. He goes, the kind of concentration you need to be a Blue Angel pilot it's like metal bending focus, move an object with your brain kind of stuff. Then he lays his spoon on the table. He goes, all right, oh man, I want you to move that spoon with your brain, with your mind. I go, what? He goes, move that spoon. So of course the spoon's not moving. He goes, God damn it, we work on that. but he goes, he says, the point I'm making is it takes tremendous focus. And if you make a mistake, you got to flush it, put it behind you, move on. Because we have another maneuver, then another maneuver. You can't dwell. We'll talk about it afterwards. He goes, well, let me ask you this, Lawman. He goes, he said, you know what the worst thing about being a Blue Angel is? And I got the boss and 3 and 4 looking at me. I don't know. I said, being on the road, you're on the road a lot. Because you're on the road about 310 days a year as a Blue Angel, roughly.
Yeah,
he goes, no, it's easy. We live in nice hotels. We get nice rental cars or courtesy cars, getting taken well care of. He goes, it's predictable. You're not on the ship. You're not in a tent. It's a pretty easy life. He goes, it's not it. I go, what? He goes, it's the flying. I go, what? He goes, yeah, you have no idea what you signed up for. You're going to find out starting today just how difficult mentally and physically this flying is. He goes, that's the hardest part about this job is the flying. I'm thinking, shit. All right. He goes, you know what the best thing about being a Blue Angel is? This is a third year Blue Angel pilot asked me this question. A third year guy. To me, he's a god, right?
Yeah.
Plus he's 6'4". He's a very imposing figure. I go, I don't know, Dino.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, Dino. Yeah, man. He's a great guy, but he could be imposing as a new guy, right?
So what was the best thing?
He said,
Randy?
I said, I'm thinking,
flying.
I'm guessing, meeting people, going on the road. He goes, oh, that's all great stuff. He goes, Lawman. He goes, no, the best thing about being a Blue Angel, and he wasn't kidding. He goes, is being an ex-Blue Angel. I go, what? He goes, your goal starting today is to survive your time on this team, these 2 years, not kill yourself, not kill a squadron mate, not kill a spectator. Don't embarrass the Navy, the Marine Corps, or the Blue Angels, or your community, and walk away in 2 years in good standing, having put your jet where it's supposed to be every day, and be an ex-Blue Angel, come to briefs and debriefs, as an old guy with gray hair and a plate full of brownies, to the new team.
Yeah,
That's
right.
your goal.
That's
I
good
go,
goal.
wow. Anyways, that was my intro. So it was painful. I got to admit, it was the challenge in flying physically, mentally, no G suit. And there's a story there I'll tell you later on about near G-Lock that because G-Lock, G-induced loss of consciousness, has killed several Blue Angels
Oh yeah.
since I left the team. And it's certainly a threat. It's a big threat for the guys flying these jets, low to the ground, high G, no G suit. But we train in Pensacola for, twice a day. And then you get Christmas break off and New Year's. And then you transit to El Central as a 6-plane Delta. You've trained a few times. And so you look decent. You kind of look like the Blue Angels, hopefully, going from Pensacola to El Central, landing somewhere in between. If you don't, and I guess in and sometimes maybe if you don't look like a 6-plane Delta, just taking off and landing, coming in for the overhead,
Yeah.
pitch up break, 6-plane, or turnout, you don't transit as a Delta. So that's the goal is to transit with all 6 jets and look like the Blue Angels when you come and go out of airfields. Not some ragtag bunch of guys, looking like shit coming in for the for the overhead or something.
Same day, same way.
Yeah. So you got that was the goal, was to make the 6-plane transit and look good. So you don't embarrass the Blue Angels. So we get to El Centro, then you fly twice a day, 6 days a week. And then it was Groundhog Day. You get an SOP. You read about the maneuvers, and then the slot pilot as a new guy will take the sticks and brief you with sticks on maneuvers. Then you go out and try it, and you fail miserably, and you do stupid, wacky shit.
Wow.
And hope that you get better every day. And there's one I'll tell you about if you get a minute. That's a kind of a funny story about it as a new guy.
Yeah.
About intro. So I'm the only new guy in the Diamond, 1994. The boss is second-year boss. 3 is a second-year 3. 4 is a third-year guy. 3, 4, 4. So I'm the weak link. And they always told the camera, hey, always follow Lawman. Follow his jet if we're doing any maneuvers. On the walk down, they followed me up the ladder. Up, everything was on me. I'm the new knucklehead. I can't even find the gear handle. We get on formation on the runway in Diamond set. Off breaks now. You're in Diamond down the runway. You're looking at the tip of the Lao 7, the missile launcher on boss's right wing, putting on the hubcap of boss's right nose gear tire on the center axle point. And that's your whole world. The tip of the missile launcher rail on that center hubcap, all the way down the runway. There's no hand signals. We're going flying. Boss starts to fly. You just rotate with him and slide into the Diamond set. And as soon as number 4 feels weight off wheels, he'll call gear. And all 4 jets simultaneously gear up and flaps up. And they put a little extender switch on the flaps so you can do it simultaneously. Otherwise, you have a different configuration. Sure. And if you are half a heartbeat behind the boss on that gear and flaps, you're out of position. You can't stay in position. Right. I couldn't find the goddamn gear handle at first. Because I had no muscle memory. I go, where's the guy? Because you can't look. You cannot. You're in a reaching. Diamond set. You're already 3 feet from the other jet. Try not to move, and the slot pilot calls gear, and you have to reach with your blindly and get the gear and flaps up. And I was like, I missed it by half a heartbeat. And so they're giving me shit about that. I'm clearing immediately. I can't even do the damn takeoff. And at one point, after a few days of this, some smart ass Navy pilot brings a tie pin, like those aluminum tie pins, like you would bake a pie in.
Yeah.
Big circular pie tin with a ruler taped to it with duct tape. He goes, hey, Lawman, we're going to send this to Nav Air, the engineers, and have them engineer you a landing gear handle that looks like this big. So you got to find the goddamn gear handle on takeoff. Holy shit. So I was, I had no muscle memory in the jet. So one of the first days we're there, they brief in El Centro, we're going to do the afterburner loop on takeoff. The Diamond burner loop on takeoff. But Lawman, you're not qualified to do this. So Boss and I, Dino saying this, Boss and I and Snooze will fly the burner loop on takeoff. You'll taxi out with us. Our 3 jets will take the runway. I'll fly the right wing in the little V, they call it. Without the Diamond, they go little V. And you watch us do the takeoff. And when we roll down the runway, you line up and wait on the runway, same runway. And when you see us coming down over the top on the loop, vertical nose down, pointed, we'll be right in front of you, vertical nose down, pointing at the runway. You start your takeoff roll in full burner, because we're going to accelerate out in front of you at about 400 knots on the end of this loop. And then we're going to turn off to the left, come back right, smoke off, and then maneuver's over, and then you can join. Okay, that's the plan. So we taxi out. Boss and 3 and 4 take the runway. Dino takes my position on the right wing, and I'm watching these guys. The newbie, and I hear the comm, burner loop on takeoff, Snooze, Dino, off brakes now, burners ready now, and down the runway they go full afterburners, and the burners, when you have both burners on, you liberate the smoke that super heats the oil, smoke oil, so there's no smoke and burner. Down the runway they go, 3 jets and huge afterburners, making a lot of noise. And they rotate and they go up and they look like, the Blue Angels, like, oh my God, that's the goddamn Blue Angels. I was mesmerized. I was a spectator going, holy shit. That is cool as hell.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting in a blue jet watching these 3 other guys do the afterburner loop on takeoff, which no other team in the world did. Nobody did that varsity maneuver on takeoff. Down to a 200-foot AGL bottom, is the goal typically. And they looked like the Blue Angels. Like these guys are show ready, I'm going, holy shit. So I get on the runway and I'm mesmerized watching them. And I forget to start my takeoff. Oh shit. They're like way out in front of me now. I go, oh man. So I go full afterburner, of course, on a clean F-18. Now I'm a Harrier A4 kind of guy, subsonic, transonic, single engine kind of guy. I'm in a clean F-18 and full blower, trying to catch these 3 jets are like dots now out in front of me, like, tiny little jets.
Yeah.
I rotate gear up, flaps up, and I bore sight them. I'm like pointing at these guys, pure pursuit. And I had no idea how slow they are at the end of this maneuver on the clear. And boss starts coming back right, smokes off. And these 3 jets go from little jets to big jets. I look at my HUD airspeed. I'm doing 600 knots plus indicate. I'm like, oh, I'm almost supersonic. I'm like 0.9. Holy shit. Idle boards. There's no nozzles, I'm like, oh my God. And they're turning into me now. I'm on the right side and boss is turning into me. And they're in diamond set. And I roll and pull 7.5 G limber to pull all I can get out of this jet, squat the jet on the inside. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to hack the turn on the right side. So what do you do in the fleet? They've told you from day one in T-34s, any formation flying, you can't hack the run. Underrun.
Yeah.
Underrun.
It's been beat into you for years. So I do what I've been trained to do for years, do the right thing, level my wings, and fly below the formation and underrun. I call Lawman's underrunning. You would have thought I shot the boss with a missile.
Oh my gosh.
It's this extreme, knock it off. Boss, knock it off. Lawman, knock it off. Snooze, knock it off. Dino, knock it off. I go, why are we knocking it off? I go, what? And then Dino's yelling at me again. I go, Lawman, there's no such thing as an underrun in the Blue Angels. It doesn't exist. In our vernacular, you won't find that word anywhere. And the rest of the people, what the fuck are you doing? You can't hack the turn. You just go the fuck away. Get away from us. I go, what? There's no underrun in the Blue Angels? Yeah. So I got my ass chewed that day too. And there's no, you either hack the turn in your piece of airspace.
Yeah.
Or you go away. You just magically disappear. And boss doesn't see you until you can join in the proper position, right? So I got, so I'm already way behind the power curve. That's kind of my intro to the Blue Angels, was just trying to hang on, learn, chip away every day, improve somewhat, and not get fired, So.
That is
you
awesome.
did it.
Yeah, you did. You survived and
Barely.
and thrived. So congrats.
I'll tell you,
The one quick question, actually, I'm going to mention something on the timing here. We may disappear in about 7 minutes. I think I scheduled it to, and it may cut if it does.
Hey, I'm at 5%, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
So I might go away.
Let me ask this, and then I'm first of all, I know I want to have you back because this has been awesome, and I know you got more. But one thing I want to ask you, Lawman, you talked about it in kind of a side thing. What are the debriefs like for the Blue Angels? I hear those are the most brutal.
Great question. We've all been through some hard debriefs. I mean, right? Anybody's been to MOTS or, if you've flown a red flag, you've seen the Air Force come in. And even in the Harrier world, anybody it's really doing their game. If you're honest about it, you really pick apart. The whole thing is, plan,
trying to learn more,
fly, and then debriefs where you really learn, right? Maybe you learn some stuff in the Air Course and you pick it apart and you really learn the lessons learned in the regular fleet debrief versus, hey, repeat what you got for me. Nothing, man. Hey, see you. The Blues, I tell you, the goal is perfection. Even on a train, everything, the goal, every maneuver, everything they do, the goal is to be perfect, which isn't impossible, but you never stop trying to be perfect. Because if you start trying to be perfect, now you settle for pretty damn good, or we're pretty good, then you get complacent. And then people start getting killed or you start to suck.
Right.
And I heard that one thing about the debrief, I must have heard 10,000 times my first few months in debrief, Lawman, you suck. That was probably the most common theme I heard. Was, Lawman, you suck. Now I didn't know because I had nobody else to compare it to, but I learned that everybody sucks early on. But because I was the only guy sucking, there's no new other number 3 with me to suffer with me and take some of the heat. It was just me. It was always, if anybody's out of position, it must have been Lawman. But so the debriefs are critical. And the one thing you learn about the debriefs is be honest and confess your sins. And they expect that. you cannot improve in life, no matter what you're doing, any endeavor, if you don't have any self-awareness that you can get better, or you should get better, or you've made mistakes. And so at the end of we land, we do the maintenance debrief, you walk in and you have a few minutes to collect your thoughts and take some notes. And what you first thing you do is you refly the entire sword in your mind and you write down any mistake you made. They call them safeties.
Yeah.
And then the debrief starts with a general and safe, and it's always with boss first. And boss generally says how he felt about the demonstration flight, whether it's practice or an air show in generally, how it went well or not so well, whatever his perception of that. And then safeties. And if he's got a safety or two, he'll say, I'll take a safety for this, I'll take a safety for that. And that's any procedural error, or even keying the wrong mic, which is a big deal. You keyed the wrong mic, one or two, it's a big deal. Depending on who owns the flight line and who's making calls for maneuvers. So every little thing is a safety, and you should confess your sins. And as a new guy, you don't learn, you learn some, hey, that's a mistake, Lawman, that's a safety. Okay, got that. So the debrief, you say you fly an air show, a 40-minute air show, and the average debrief, I would say, would be an hour and a half to 2 hours. Nitpicky. Take the video, and the camera never lies.
Right.
And the squadron flight surgeon, from the ground perspective, is trained during winter training from day one, because they figure doctors are smart and they're very observant, and they don't have another job on the ground while the guys are flying. Nobody's like, needs immediate medical care right now, typically. So the team flight surgeon's job is to learn to critique the ground from the center point perspective, from the crowd perspective. What does it look like from the spectators? So they get very, very good, very sharp eye. They learn from watching, hours and hours of debriefs and videos about what this maneuver should look like and who's out of position. Every little thing, include whose smoke came on last, or early smoke, or this or that. And they're very, very good. And so every debrief will start with, especially during show season, the flight surgeon was the diamond slot pilot will say, hey, diamond burn loop on takeoff. And then the first person to speak would be the flight surgeon. Has his note card from, okay, he goes through the maneuver with any mistakes anybody that he saw from the ground perspective. Yeah. And some people think, oh, bullshit, that was, he's got the wrong guy. Then they play the tape, and they got these very expensive cameras that roll stabilized, lenses, and they'll stop the video a tenth of a second, and sure as shit, there's my jet. I go, God dang it. Out of position, late smoke or whatever. And plus the other guys, the experienced guys in particular, can see your mistakes up close. They can, if you bobble a wing in them, or, push them too hard or do this or that, they can see it. So what they expect is you to come into the debrief and, first of all, confess your sins and be aware of the mistakes you made. And sometimes they'll point out if you missed one, hey, Lawman, on this maneuver, you did this or that. Yeah. And the goal is as an experienced Blue Angel, only have one or two safeties, narrow down to maybe none, hopefully, but no more than one or two. Early on, you're making, a lot of mistakes because you're learning. So the debriefs are critical. And if the maneuver wasn't perfect, if your jet wasn't perfect on that maneuver, your jet, it's not good enough. And you're going to hear about it. Yeah. And they always tell you not to take it personal. Especially as a new guy, it's hard because you're getting beat up a lot because, you suck. You're just, you're never in position or hardly. And you think, mine must be the worst balloons you've ever hired. God, my God, please God, let me get through another day. Yeah. Help me out here, you hear that quite a bit, but if you have the right attitude about just persevering, okay, I'm open to criticism, take notes, study it, and look for trends in particular. I keep doing this thing, so I got to stop doing that. And every brief, every pilot has to, in front of the entire team who's in there for that brief, has to state a specific goal for that flight. That you are telling the team, I am going to fix this today, or I'm going to do this better today. Here, my specific goal for the day is the up on the line of breast loop. I'm not going to sag it or whatever, and you tell the team, and then they expect you to fix it. And then they show the tape, and did you fix it or not? You're called out on it, no matter who you are. And the boss is a squadron commander, former successful, highly competitive Navy commander who has commanded the squadron on a fleet carrier. Now he's the boss, right? Doesn't matter. You're out of position. Boss makes a mistake. He's going to hear about it. The rank is meaningless at the table.
Right. Well, and as it should be, if you're going to be a professional
pretty
team,
awesome.
right? That
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that counts
so
on
the-
each
yeah,
other
so
for your
the-
very lives.
yeah. So debriefs are painful and you feel like, oh my God, I'm horrible. And then then you get a, 30-minute break, eat a burrito at El Centro or something, and down a Coke, and then you go out and do it again, then you suck again. And in the back of your mind that, oh shit. And you fly a maneuver, you go, I'm gonna hear about this one. But you gotta flush it. You have to flush it.
Yeah, because you got 50 more to go.
You got more to do. Like, damn it. Okay. And I learned the lesson the hard way. If you don't, and this is where it's very can be fatal.
Yeah.
If you don't flush it and move on, okay, what's next? Focus, do the next one better. I made a mistake early in winter training. Of course I sucked and I was out of position on some diamond rolling looping maneuver and got cleared. And then I the next move was worse. And then the next one was worse. I was like, geez, I'm just falling apart over here. And Dino, we call it a knock it off. All right, Lawman, go well clear, they call it. Go well clear. It's like fleet parade and like, get away from us. All right, Lawman, you're cleared aft and you RTB. I'm like, what? I got a good jet here.
Oh, wow.
He sent me home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what? It was the flight of shame.
Yeah.
It was a single jet return to El Centro. And the maintenance guys are monitoring our frequency because they want to know if early on, if a guy's got a bad
They
jet,
gotta fix something.
they'll have a spare jet turning for you. They've always got a spare jet with a crew chief sitting in. If they have to, they'll crank that jet and you land and that right engine's already cranked. You run the ladder, you jump in, crank the left motor, wipe out the flight controls and go if you have time.
Nice.
Yeah.
To make that's like a pit crew. It's like a NASCAR pit crew, man. They're world class. I've done it a couple of times and during their show too. It's phenomenal how fast it can be to jump into a spare jet. So maintenance, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But they're going to ask you because it's early you still got 40 minutes of flying to go. Hey sir, do you spare jet? And I'm going, oh no. And
I think so.
and so I said, no, I said negative. The jet is good. It's not the jet. I'm just RTB. And they got to ask the question, but they know. Okay. So it was I had to land my jet come in for the overhead.
Yeah.
I came for the overhead or just snuck in on a quiet, straight end. Maybe I sneak this jet in here and nobody notices it.
Nobody else.
But you park on the flight line and all the troops are out there.
Yeah.
You park a jet and you get out and there's 5 other jets out there over Shade Tree
rough.
bombing range training.
That's rough.
And you are one of them, man. And then you got to wait by yourself. And I waited by maintenance control for the other 5 jets to land and do the walk of shame into the debrief. And no, man, I'm going to get my ass beat. But it was a wake up call. And Dino was right. Lawman, you let that bad maneuver get to you.
Yeah.
And you were not focused on and you got to be dangerous. And he's right.
Yeah.
My second year, we landed the guy during the show, put him on the ground because we got the same thing. You got dangerous. All right. Hey, clear, land your jet during a show on a show day in front of spectators. They don't mess around.
Yeah. No, the spectators don't know anything about why.
They don't, they think you're broken jet. You could, the Blue Angels, in my opinion, you could fly by the crowd, invert it and eject and they would clap. Oh my God, that's great.
Part of the show.
Yeah, right.
That's different. They don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow. Dude, you know how long you've talked?
Yeah,
Holy
this is
cow.
awesome.
I'm sorry. I know I talked
No,
too much.
dude,
Oh,
don't.
This is beautiful, and I've got more. The thing is, we've got to end it because just for everybody's physiological needs, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But I know I want to have you back. I got a ton of questions about the show. How do you wind up in the same spot over the airfield at the same time? Those sorts of things.
I can answer those questions. I can tell you about how the geometry works out in the overhead photographs, and then again, if you want to, we can talk some more funny stories about swapping paint and things like that.
Love to have you back
and you got to ask me about at one point. Ask me about the walk down and marching as a Marine. That's a good story there too. So,
Absolutely.
There's some other ones out there that are kind of funny.
Wait,
Did you have to
say
teach
that
those
again. I'm
squids
taking
how to
notes.
march?
The walk down when we land the jets and you do the walk down where 6 picks up 5, 4, 3 and they pick up the Boston, and then you march and then you squadron halt, hand salute, and then the show's over. The walk down is choreographed, same as walking through the jets. The walk down is huge, and the show's not over to the handshake. And there's a good story about the walk down involving me. I can tell you about that. You might get a chuckle out of.
I'm taking notes.
I won't spoil it now, but it's a good story.
Very good.
About,
well, let's try to do that in the next week or so then. And
Sure.
I'm telling you, we've got 3 or 4 shows out of this at a minimum.
I don't want to bore you guys, but if you got
This is
You know, all
this is
your-
what we
your
wanted
listeners.
to do. Fig,
Oh,
is
hey,
this
this is
gold?
Yes, gold. It's gold.
Pure gold.
So people
So,
will think,
Lawman,
who's this
we-
Lawman knucklehead guy anyway?
Yeah.
But glad to
Lawman,
be here,
we
guys.
can't thank you enough for joining us and for honoring us with your time.
Oh, my
and,
pleasure.
Happy birthday to your bride.
Yeah, low man.
Yeah, thank you very
And,
much. I'll pass it on to her. She's a
and-
lovely lady.
And thank you for your service. And
Same to you guys. Yeah, man, I'm honored to have flown with you guys. It's really it was a pleasure to have flown with guys like yourselves. You know, true great Americans. You know, that still having fun and love talking about flying and
It never gets
telling,
old.
and telling funny stories about ourselves. You know, and it's nothing wrong with that.
No,
Yeah.
it never gets old.
Exactly. So here, I'm going to wind up closing it out here. And well, that's about all the time we have for today's show, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to first take the opportunity to thank you for spending your time with us. We know there are millions of shows out there that you have to choose from, and the fact that you've chosen ours is a great honor and very humbling to us. So thank you. One other thing you could do for us is to please continue to do what you have been doing and helping our show grow by going to Apple Podcasts app and subscribing there if you happen to have an iOS device or a Mac device. If you're on Windows, then you can find us on all other manner of
Oh,
If you'd like to give us feedback, we would certainly appreciate it. Or if you have any questions, you can reach us by email.
there's
First is fig@sothereiwas.us or repeat@sothereiwas.us. Repeat spelled REPETE. You can follow us on Facebook at sothereiwas.us/Facebook. So there's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to.
there was about a 20-second gap.
Yeah, no. So what happened there? I'm going to hit stop recording here.